Okay, I now call this meeting, this town hall meeting for the City of Devine to order. The time is 7:01. Also, I have a prepared statement, but I just want to say that I think it is absolutely fantastic to see this amount of people interested in our community. And I mean that with all sincerity. And I'm glad you're here to hear what we hear. Okay. So, I know that the news of a large data center possibly coming just outside our city limits has stirred a lot of conversation, and for good reasons. This is a big development, and it touches on what matters most to all of us: the future of our community, our infrastructure, and our quality of life. Barely a month ago, our city administrator, David Jordan, and I met with representatives from the data center company that you'll meet this evening for the first time. Barely a month ago. Since then, our city staff has been gathering information, asking questions, and carefully reviewing what this project could mean for the city of Devine. I want to be clear, absolutely no decisions have been made yet. No backroom deals, nothing. Absolutely nothing has been done yet. Okay. While it appears this data center is coming to the area, whether we annex or not, we still have a say in how and under what conditions we might provide city services such as water and sewer. Let me reiterate, the City of Devine cannot, capital letters, prevent this data center from coming to this private property, even if it wanted to. The only thing the City of Devine has control over is yes or no on annexation and city utilities. And that is it. This is a massive project, roughly a $28 billion investment, tied to 800 megawatts of power and potentially 400 high-paying skilled jobs over time. Those numbers are exciting. Excuse me. Please let me finish. Everybody will have their time. I will repeat. This is a massive project, roughly a $28 billion investment in this community, tied to 800 megawatts of power and potentially 400 high-paying skilled jobs over time. Those numbers are exciting, but big opportunities come with big responsibilities. We must understand what's being asked of our city, what the long-term impact might be, and how this lines up with our infrastructure capacity, our growth goals, and our residents' values. Our commitment to you is transparency, as evidenced here tonight. You guys are here very, very early in the process. Like I said, it was barely a month ago that we on this end heard about this. Right? So we want to share what we know so far, and just as importantly, to hear from you. I only ask that we keep tonight's discussion calm, respectful, and focused. There's a lot of interest, and many of you want to speak. To make sure as many voices as possible can be heard, we're asking everyone to please keep comments or questions to 3 minutes. That is our standard. That is nothing new. We didn't create that for this evening. That is our standard. If time permits, we will field additional questions, so you may be able to speak again if you have more questions. Okay? However, we are required by our ordinances to end our meeting no later than 10 p.m. We don't have all the answers yet. In fact, we have quite a few of our own questions that we're still waiting to have answered by the company and our regional partners. So let's use this time to exchange information constructively. This is simply a town hall meeting to hear citizens' concerns, which we highly value. The City Council will take no action tonight. My job as your mayor, along with our City Council and our Planning and Zoning Board, is to protect the citizens of Devine, to look at both the opportunity and the risk, and to make decisions based on facts. Let's approach this conversation together with patience, honesty, and the shared goal of doing what's best for our city and our future. And as always, and I've said it many times, Every person you see here on this dais, our P&Z board, we live in the same town. We have the same concerns that you do. So at this time, I would like to introduce Ryan Knuckles. He's the co-founder of the Texas Energy Group. He's going to put on a presentation which will show the stuff that we've been talking about and the things that we've seen, so everybody can see the same thing that we've seen. Ryan, thanks so much for coming down. We appreciate you. Mic check. Hello.
Hello everybody, my name is Ryan Knuckles. I'm one of the co-founders of Texas Energy Group. To give you a quick background about Texas Energy Group, we are a family-owned company just outside of Austin based in Spicewood. We are a ERCOT energy management and power infrastructure firm, so we manage electricity for various types of industry in Texas, oil and gas, commercial, industrial, data centers, various different types. We also build power infrastructure, so poles, wires, substations, microgrids, turbine gas plants, solar plants, and we also develop critical infrastructure for various industries. In the last 3 years, we have started to develop AI and HPC scale powered land opportunities here in the greater Texas area. To give you a quick background on myself, I am a 10th generation Texan. Family grew up in the oil and gas business about 100 years. One of my grandfathers was a linesman for 40 years, so he worked on power lines that you're gonna hear a little bit about. But my mom's side of the family grew up outside of Austin in Taylor, Texas. We're a proud farming family. So I tell all you that simply to say that I am a proud Texan. I respect everyone's voice as a Texan and look forward to having an honest and open conversation and respect everyone's time for being here today. As you very well see, this project that we are developing outside of Devine is what we are calling Project El Camino. You can go to the next slide. You can go to the next one after this one. So as you very well see, our project sits just kind of southwest of Devine. It sits on about a 525 acre tract. The reason why we selected this property was simply because there was good local infrastructure support a project of this scale. We really like the property because a lot of the natural barriers that the property has. On the north side of town, there's a big floodplain that kind of goes northwest to southeast that kind of presents a natural, nice barrier between a development and town. A lot of the kind of natural clearing that you see already in these kind of brown spots where you see the trees on the property, that's where a lot of the development is going to go, and very little land clearing outside of what's already been naturally cleared out is kind of what will go. So go to the next slide. Can you point the property out a little bit? Yeah, I can go back to the. Yeah, so this is basically downtown Devine. Here you have 35 coming down. This is 132. And so I know it's kind of hard to see, but this green highlighted area right here is basically the outline of the property, and the majority of the development will kind of sit in here and on the backside over there. And on the next slide, I'll kind of show you the layout of the property. So this is an initial kind of what we call first draft civil plan of the project. There will be between 8 and 9 buildings total on the property. There will be an electrical substation built out for electrical distribution from the grid, and there also will be a power plant kind of on the kind of southeast corner over here that you see. So this area right in here is where the power plant will rest. This is where the substation will be. First 2 initial buildings, the entrance off 132 comes down here, coming into the property and kind of curves around in the backside of the property as you see as well. And the shaded area, as you see, is the natural floodplain, kind of having that barrier that we talked about earlier. Continue. A new project is obviously coming to Devine. Like we said earlier, we are happy to stay after this presentation, answer as many questions as you can. As proud Texans and taxpayers, you have every right to ask the hard questions, and we are here to answer them. So I appreciate everyone being respectful this time, letting me get through the presentation. A lot of, I think, the questions or concerns you have will be addressed. Maybe there'll be some new ones. We're happy to talk about it. But this presentation was very well thought out and put together, and I think a lot of it will be addressed. So we can continue. Water is a big conversation. Obviously, Texas is experiencing some droughts here in South Texas. It's a very hot topic, as many of you will see. Simply put, we are very active in Texas politics. We, at the state, local levels, our family businesses are very active. What you're going to see come January, long story short, is it is going to become law that all new data centers in Texas become a closed loop system. Closed loop systems are basically less water intensive than traditional air cooled systems. So in a very simple way to think about it, per building of this development, it'll take about a 30,000 gallon intake fill. Okay, that's basically the size of a moderately sized swimming pool. A lot of the water consumption will actually go to the power plant itself. But as far as the closed loop system in the buildings and the coolings goes, around 2% of the water usage per year, once that system is filled up, is naturally just evaporated. So it just ran on a closed loop system that kind of runs in parallel and is recharged. There's not continuous water feeding that cooling system. So go to the next slide. This is basically kind of what a very standard cooling system looks like. Right here you have a data center server. You have natural piping that moves through the data center server into what's called a air chiller or cooling tower. That cooling tower takes hot water, turns it into cold water, and basically pumps it back in, and it's continuously treated. So the first system fill up will be about 1.7 million gallons of water. That's about equivalent to what 16 households use per year in water consumption. The average household in America uses about 100 to 120,000 gallons of water per year. So in terms of the water usage, it's surprisingly very, very minimal. The one thing that I would kind of tell you guys about water usage, there's a lot of misinformation out there about water consumption and usage, and data centers are gonna suck us dry. And I wanted to just give an honest conversation about water consumption in the state of Texas. So how it kind of breaks down, Texas uses about 5.5 to 6 trillion gallons of water per year. Agriculture makes up about 50% of that number. Municipal use, which is just people's homes, residential businesses, that uses about 35%, and that's about 1.7 trillion gallons of water per year that municipal uses, and agriculture uses about 2.7, 2.8 trillion gallons per year. Of the municipal use, just the landscaping of just watering our homes uses almost 1 trillion gallons of water, which is very shocking. The oil and gas industry, which is one of the heavy, and everything that I'm telling you guys is on the Texas Water Development Board. I'm sorry I didn't have it put up, but you can go research this. This is all straight from the state of Texas. The oil and gas industry, which is obviously one of the most intensive industries in the United States, literally uses less than 2% of our water supply. Manufacturing, industrial uses about 8%. Mining uses about 1%, and livestock uses about 1%. As it stands today, the data center community across AI, traditional data centers, Bitcoin mining, they used about 35 billion gallons of water last year. In terms of 2025, that means they used about 0.3% less than 0.5% of our total water usage here in Texas. In the next 5 to 6 years, it is projected that the data center industry will 3 or 4x in growth. So taking that 0.3% number, the total data center industry in that 5 to 6 year span will still use less than 1% of water. And by developing efficiently and using closed loop systems, it will massively help data centers be more water efficient, and new cooling methods are always evolving. I look at, coming from an oil and gas family, I look at the data center industry very similar the way that I looked at the shale oil and gas revolution in the early 2000s when it started to break out. Everyone was first up in arms about hydraulic fracturing, how much water it's going to use. And over the last 20 years, what the oil and gas industry has really done is just absolutely expand their water recycling capability, reusing certain materials and becoming less water efficient. And we're seeing the same thing in the data center industry. But the biggest point I want to get across to you guys today is there is a lot of misinformation that gets put out there to scare people and get people up in arms. And a lot of it simply has not been fact-checked or really driven. As it stands today, the data center industry in Texas uses less than 0.5% of our water supply, and even the massive growth that we're seeing in this industry, it will still use less than 1% at its full growth potential in the next 5 to 6 years. If you look at efficiency of water used per GDP creation in Texas, Texas's GDP is about $3 trillion a year. If you look at the oil and gas industry, manufacturing, and throwing in the data center industry as well, that's about $1 trillion of gross GDP. If you look at their water consumption, based on that scale that I just told you, that total water consumption is less than 10% of our total usage of water in the state of Texas. Data centers are actually the most efficient use of water per terms of gross domestic product in the entire planet. It is the most efficient use of water in terms of creating economic value and prosperity in the state of Texas and across the world. So that's a pretty empowering statistic. Continue. This again kind of goes to talk about the initial fill up, like I talked about. It's about 16 homes per year. And then as the natural evaporation comes, the water usage is less than 1 home. As far as the data center goes, a lot of the water usage on the facility level is really just using restrooms and local facilities. I mean, that initial charge is really the biggest consumption and the ongoing use from the power plant. Continue. Will this data center raise my electricity bill? Before, it will not. And the reason I say that, and I'm going to kind of get into it, before I talk about this, I want to give a backstory. Like I said, one of my grandfathers, he worked for Southwestern Bell for about 4 years. He was a proud linesman. Those were the days before they had bucket trucks, and they literally used to lift transformers up on their shoulders and hang power poles, and they were pretty rough and tough. But I remember him telling me the story of how the electrical grid system in Texas really took place. In the early 1900s, the first base load demand that was ever created that helped basically give the foundation to our electrical grid system was ice factories. That was really the first high energy use product that created electrical distribution in the state of Texas in the early 1900s was ice factories. And I remember him telling me the same old stories about when those ice factories first came to town, everyone was up in arms. Oh, we don't need to use ice, and we don't need this, and that base load demand is what basically gave the foundation of our electrical grid system in the ERCOT market. In the early 30s, 40s, and 50s, we started to have a lot more manufacturing boom to high demand areas like Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas, and that started to expand. And then in the early 1980s, obviously the oil and gas boom started to take place, and that's what really built it out. Will this raise my electricity bill to answer this? No, it will not. And how electricity prices are priced in America is 2 things. It's a very simple equation. It's natural gas price, because a majority of our electricity in America is generated by natural gas. and it's times what's called a heat rate. A heat rate is basically a general assumption of our weather factors in a certain time of the year. So, June, July, and August, super hot, heat rates are high, natural gas rates are usually high, and so that's elevated power pricing. Off-peak times of the year when the weather's cooler, January, February, natural gas prices are a little suppressed after the winter, best times to buy electricity. But industrial demand does not drive power prices. A lot of the electricity generated and used on this project is a behind-the-meter solution. There will be a grid tie-in. So basically, we're going to be paying for new transmission upgrades on the property. So we're going to have our own point of interconnection, which is a high-voltage transmission system. All of the power that is basically distributed in the city of Devine comes off this substation right here down the road, and we are not tying into that whatsoever. So no one's electricity supply or price will increase. We're not touching that substation. We're creating our own substation, our own power line system, high voltage point of interconnection, but your electricity prices will not increase. Also, like I said, there'll be a lot of on-site power generation. So in times of peak demand, if we have another Winter Storm Uri, in January, it will eventually become law that all data centers have to participate in a demand response program, which a demand response is a ERCOT program that calls for industrial users to curtail power during times of peak demand, that all data centers have to be a part of the demand response program to curtail energy usage during times of peak demand. So this data center actually could have the potential to give power back to the grid via curtailment and our power plant during times of peak demand. So your electricity rates will not be affected. Industrial use does not affect power prices. That is natural gas times a heat rate. What I can say, going back to the story I told you earlier about the ice factories and those being the first reliable baseload consumption in Texas that helped incentivize the modern grid system in Texas, data centers are doing the exact same thing right now. All these data centers are paying 100% of the upgrade cost for all this new infrastructures and points of interconnection that everyone gets to benefit from line upgrades and more reliable power. Right now in America, there's about 160 gigawatts of new power plants scheduled to come online in America over the course of the next 5 to 6 years. 60% of that number, all those new power plants are coming in Texas strictly because of the data center boom here in Texas. That's more tax money, that's more jobs, and that's more reliable power for the state of Texas simply because of this data center industry. Continue. Again, this is kind of what I was just kind of talking about. Your home operates off of a distribution system right here off this substation down the road. We are not touching that or interconnecting it by any way. We will have our own dedicated transmission and grid line. And like I said earlier, the natural gas plant will be self-generated for a large portion of the power. Continue. Talking about real jobs, wages, in terms of the total footprint of development jobs, I mean, you're talking 250 to 500 jobs of blue-collar, hard-working people. This data center will employ local technicians, plumbers, HVAC, electricians. We're always proud to work with local communities. We believe that the local community should be supported economically. That is a big thing. Usually in terms of when the facility is operational, a starting data center technician makes about $80,000 per year and can make upwards of $150,000 to $175,000 per year as a senior technician. At an $80,000 yearly wage, that's about 74% above the Devine median of local income. In terms of construction jobs, it's in the thousands of what this data center will employ. But what's even more supportive outside of the construction jobs and the operational jobs once the data center is active is thinking about the local community and the job creation of restaurants, retail. It's estimated that 2 to 3 more local jobs in retail and trades and services will be created from having a large development like this. Continue. talking about tax bases and revenues and where money flows, of kind of why we want to incorporate into the city. We want to share the economic benefit with the city of Devine. A large development like this is obviously great for the county, but we wanted to see the local community benefit from it as well. You're talking about a $28 billion tax base of an asset sitting inside of a city limits that will provide millions of dollars of tax revenue back to the city. I mean, thinking about what you can do from a local school, roads and infrastructure, emergency services, city services, that is a lot of money for a community the size of Devine to take in and benefit from, and that's something that we all want this community to benefit from generations to come. Continue. This is basically talking about sound output. I know sound output is a big thought and concern. There's two parts to this. There is obviously the sound output from the power plant, and there's a sound output from the cooling towers that does the closed loop cooling system for the data center. I'll start with the cooling tower because it's closest to me. So what you're looking at is basically distance in terms of, like, if you were standing 1,000 feet away from the cooling tower and it kind of goes out, then it's decibel rating, and then it's basically comparable sound to the distance and output. So from our first building to the closest community in Devine, like kind of residential house, like a community or neighborhood, we're about 5,000 feet away, about 5,500 feet, 5,000 feet away. So at that level with the cooling towers, that's basically like the equivalent of a quiet residential areas when you open your door and step outside, bustling wind. It is a very minimal. At 41 decibel is an equivalent thing. At the power plant level, it's nearly identical. At 5,000 feet away, that's equivalent to a light rainfall. Majority of the town is over 6,000 feet, and that's equivalent to a whisper. So we feel like that this property is secluded to back away from the city. It has a lot of natural barriers. Sound dissipates over trees. And so we really liked this location simply because we felt like it was secluded enough and isolated from the community where it would naturally kind of fit in to the local hill country. Continue. Lighting is another big thing. Obviously, as we're under development and operation, this is an important kind of topic of conversation. LED design is a big thing. So fully shielded LED lights, downward-facing LED fixtures, and warm color temperatures. So you don't have these bright luminescent fluorescent lights that light up the night sky and provide light pollution. Smart lighting, motion sensors around the facility, so you don't just have 24/7 shining down lights. Dimming control systems and non-essential lighting reduced basically at night. So when the facility is operational, there would be minimal lights around the exterior of the facility just for security purposes, but a lot of it will be smart controlled and motion sensor controlled. Site mitigation measures, landscape buffers, like we said, a lot of tree cover. We're going to leave a lot of the natural trees open. The property is already pretty cleared. Lower pole heights and directive fixtures, so not having huge, massive power light poles shining down, very directed power poles, or light poles, excuse me. And then very strict controls on temporary construction lighting, and keeping those at an LED fixture as well, and at low fixtures so they're not shining bright into the night sky and disrupting with light pollution. Continue. Traffic is obviously a very big thing in construction. We've done a lot of infrastructure jobs across very differing types of industry in Texas. The current plan of traffic is to obviously continue to work with TxDOT and local county and city officials on creating the best traffic route possible. But as of right now, the kind of plan is to utilize I-35, come down I-35, exit that 132 exit, come right back up, and come into the property. Our goal is to avoid downtown Devine 100%. I mean, that's the beauty of having I-35 right there, and the 132 feeder is keeping traffic outside Devine and not impacting the city whatsoever. We're going to be scheduling deliveries on off-peak times, away from the 4:30, 6 o'clock traffic hour, and obviously reducing congestion through on-site staging areas as we have plenty of property to be able to lay down heavy infrastructure. Safety-wise, contractors will be required to abide by traffic safety and protocol per TxDOT rules, and we will continue to coordinate with local emergency services and community stakeholders to ensure that the traffic plan is put in the best position possible. Continue. So this is pretty much the wrap-up of the presentation. I appreciate you guys staying patient with me. I'm sure some of you don't quite agree with something I've said, but we appreciate you guys staying quiet, and we look forward to having an honest conversation about the development, and we look forward to being a part of the community. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. And then I wasn't sure who did you want to, as they come up to ask questions, who?
All right, everybody.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Without any further ado, all right, I appreciate that presentation. A lot of that we've seen ahead of time, obviously, which is why it's so interesting, and it's why we're looking into all this. Okay, so at this time, we have about 48 people here that are signed up to speak, which I think is great. Okay, and once again, to start off, please have whatever you need to ask ready. All right, you have 3 minutes each time. All right, and Stephanie over here, okay, we'll let you know when you got a minute to go. And I really hate to do that, but we really want to share everyone's concern. But we want to hear everyone's concern. And so this way we can get to as many people as possible, okay? So.
Is this a questions and answer?
Okay, hang on just a second. That's a great question, okay? You can speak. Okay, each person will be called to the podium, okay? You can speak, you can ask questions, you can say whatever you like, all right, as long as it's civil, constructive, and on the topic, and also polite, preferably. Okay, there's no reason to do anything else here this evening. Okay, so at this time, we're going to go in order. I believe this is the order. Well, what's page 2 right here? Okay, we'll start in order of sign up, please. Okay, number 1, we have T.J. Richardson. Okay, when you come to the podium, please state your name. We need to have that for the record. For our minutes, state your name and your address, please.
And on behalf of all the people here, I want to say thank you for putting this town hall together. Thank you for the people who came to represent the company and giving us these answers. To qualify myself, I live, the address is 419 Private Road, Private Road 7614. That is a new development. I am exactly 2.5 miles by line of sight from this project. So I will have some input or from lights and noise and so forth. He's described a lot of these things that I'm going to cover. This is basically what I'm asking of those who are going to represent us. He represents the company, y'all represent us. It doesn't matter whether it's going to be y'all or the county or whoever's going to do this. We are not naive enough to think that anything we say here is going to stop this project. But we do need to have some guardrails. First of all, I've lived here for 30 years. I lived, like I said, just 2.5 miles south. 3 years ago, we had to drop a well because we didn't have access to utilities. At the time that we drilled that well in 2023, our well level was 160 feet below the ground, our water level. In 3 years, that has dropped 53 feet. That has created a lot of problem, and we're not the only ones, of course, in that area, and we're part of the Carrizo Aquifer, which some of this water may be taking from. But water is not our only concern, and he's, thank you, Mr. Knuckles, for addressing a lot of this. That's not our own concern. What about air pollution and emissions? What can we expect, including but not limited to generators? He's already spoken that we're going to have some type of generator system there, and that's probably going to be natural gas. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On-site diesel and natural gas generators for backup, they emit nitrogen oxides, particulate matter, sulfur dioxides, and other pollutants. Probably nothing different than anybody else who has a gas generator system. He's addressed this also. What light pollution can we expect from security lighting, building, and parking lots? What are the negative land use issues we can expect, including but not limited to habitat disruption and visual aesthetic changes? You've already said it's going to be kind of back a little ways. None of us want anything that's but ugly put in the community. So we're hoping that's going to be addressed. How much solid or liquid waste will be generated, and the potential water soil quality issues that will come from wastewater or stormwater. Runoff is going to be an issue.
I'm sorry, 1 minute.
What public health and quality of life effects, such as chronic noise or low frequency or infrasound, are going to be admitted? What is the indirect or economic community strains on traffic, electrical, water demands, and public services such as fire response? And then what are the broader environmental footprints, the climate and biodiversity, such as greenhouse gas emissions, high energy use, or high grid demand? The citizens of Devine and surrounding Medina County and those representing us, y'all, such as the county judge, county commissioners, mayor, city council members, we should request, if not mandate, an environmental impact assessment, or at least an environmental impact statement that is comprehensive in addressing all these concerns before negotiations. They're going to ask things for us, we need to ask things for them.
That is time.
And we ask that this assessment include all the information outlined in the National Environmental Policy Act. Thank you.
Thanks, TJ. I was just going to ask for a copy of that. Thanks. Next up, we have Jerry Beck.
I don't need 3 minutes, Butch.
Okay, before I forget, would everybody please silence their phones, please? I know a lot of people want to watch the Spurs and all that, but I kind of do myself, but I'll catch up later. Okay, Jerry, please go.
Okay. There's been a lot of talk about water. You have a never-ending source of water. Is this thing working?
You got to get close to it.
Anyway, the effluent that's spit out of the sewer plant that I've seen people drink, and I wouldn't drink it, but I've been talking to you for years, and mentioned it to Dave, I think, once or twice. And 20-something years ago, 30-something years ago, that thing was spitting out 125,000 gallons of effluent a day, and it's going down the creek and soaking in. That would be a dang good source of water for this cooling system, and it's a never-ending. It comes out every day. They don't have to drill no wells. You could probably charge them for it too. That was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. And the other one is with the influx of these data centers that are going to up our tax base, why don't the municipalities and the taxing entities give the taxpayers a break, pass it back down to the taxpayers? Where's our county judge? But anyway, that's the only two things I had to talk about. Thank you very much. Buckle up.
Thanks, Jerry. That is one of the things we have also discussed. Like I said before, each and every one of us lives in this town. Okay? All right. I believe we have Donna Richardson, please. Yeah, name and address for the record is all. Thank
Donna
you.
Richardson. I live where he lives. Same place. Thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it. I am new to Devine. I've only been here about 4 years, so very new compared to most people. My background is community and economic development, corporate social responsibility, and philanthropy. So my questions are going to focus on that because I know they're going to answer all the rest of the questions. But I know the jobs that you say are going to come. One of the things is this community is a rather poor community. And my encouragement to you would be they're not going to be able to get these jobs right off the bat. So if there's any kind of training programs that you could work on while you're developing your facility to bring in the high school kids or bring in people who are interested and get that job training, I think that would be a big help in getting them to that pay scale. So that was one encouragement I would do. And also pay a living wage to those that are not going to be at that skill level. The other thing would be to use local subs, and you did mention that. But I would encourage you also to put a program together where you can call them together and let them know what your requirements are. If they need to be bonded, what is it that they need to do? Because a lot of them are very small and don't know that. And they're going to want to help, but they don't know what they don't know. So please be communicative, be open. You want to be transparent, but help this community grow, help the people here grow, and be a part of us. Give back to us and don't just take from us. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. Appreciate it. Next up, I have Kim Chabrowski. Please correct me if I got that wrong.
You got it right.
All right. Okay.
So you got it right.
Please try
Can
and
you hear
speak
me
into the
here?
mic.
All right.
Name and
So-
address, please.
Kim Chabrowski, and 770 South Highway 132. And I have a prepared statement, and I want to share that innovation, evolution, and advancements are all part of our world. It's a reality. How it is handled that matters. While everything has trade-offs, there are also boundaries, limits, and responsibilities. While I do not like the idea of a data center so close, I'd like to share publicly available stats on approximately how much each of these companies that are building and exploring building make in profits. Profits are the money that they put in their banks after they've paid all their bills. At the end of 2024, because that's the most available information and indicators are that there's greater growth in 2025, Oracle profited $10.5 billion, Microsoft, $88, Meta, Facebook, which we know as Facebook, $62 billion, Alphabet, which we know as Google, $100 billion, Amazon, we know as AWS by some, $60 billion, SoftBank, $7 billion. OpenAI, which is ChatGPT by many of us, claim negative earnings, but their projected evaluation is $6 billion to $1 trillion. And these profits will grow with these data centers. These companies are laying off people in favor of AI agents. Agents do not demand salaries, and salaries cut into profits. These data centers employ very few people and will become less and less over time, but they do demand the natural resources. Evidence by everyone having profits in the billions, that's with a B, they can afford to financially assume all expenses, projected increases in expenses, and for any natural resource they need, not just for themselves, but most importantly, for the betterment of the entire Devine community. Why should any of the citizens be limited in any way in terms of water? Because things and impacts do happen. It won't be that straightforward. Why should any of us as citizens, you as council members, need to become accepting of power flicks, strains, or failures, because they will also happen? Why should any citizen have to wait on emergency services because they will be strained at least in the next first few years?
1 minute.
Just like every advancement, there is moral, financial, and earthly responsibility. Please, City Council, with all due request and respect, learn from the areas that are around and that have come before you. There's so much negativity out there because a lot of it is true. Any action requires requirements, financial obligations, and strict governance and responsibility in this industry. Please don't let their lawyers, negotiators, and others get the best of you. The Devine citizens elected you to have their backs in all situations, at all times, and not just sometimes. Thank you, and may God bless and protect us all.
Thanks, Kim. That was well said. Next up, Craig Jabrowski.
Same address.
You still need to say it, please.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Highway 770 South Highway 132. All right. So I'm going to go with the technical side because that's what I do for a living. I'm not a fan of this. I'm not not opposed to technology, but let's just go with this. I've read the articles about the proposed data center. Can y'all hear me okay, or do I need this thing? Okay. I read there's a potential option for closed loop. What does that mean? A lot of people don't know. I do it for a living. So why are we using water? There's other cooling mediums way more efficient than water. Closed loop system means some kind of cooling fan. That creates noise, more energy, more like a radiator. It's going to create noise. Let's see. The key fact of availability is fresh water. Chemical plants use fresh water. They use alternate cooling mediums as well because water is a valuable resource and there's just not enough of it. The city has been on stage 3 or 4 for the last several years. So what happens when there's no water for the city of Devine folks? Another fact I hear is supplemental power use of natural gas. How is there natural gas out in rural property? Who owns it? Who maintains it? How big is this line? Is the current line capable of supplying enough cubic feet of flow to operate a generator to produce half of the power required? If the flow is not enough, will a compressor station be required to boost the supply? Who pays for that? How much electricity will a compressor station need? How loud is that going to be? Where is that going to be located? Will the corporation pay for that? Or is it burden on the citizens of Devine? Other costs to the city, if annex was an option, the city sewer line. Who pays for that to be routed 2 miles down the road? We have highway frontage. We don't have city services. Burden those on the city for the utilities. The city water line. Who pays for that? That's miles of pipe as well. Will they be billed at a commercial rate and get a lower rate for water usage, or will they get the residential rate, which is higher? Divine News reported that Lidl projected the cost just for their water line for the data center they had, $7.5 million for water line.
1 minute.
I'm almost done. Does the city have the reserves for the resources for this upgrade? Sewer system. How can they absorb all the extra usage? Talk about GDP. There is no physical product made by a data center. And by the way, 85 decibels is what OSHA requires for hearing protection. You're saying at 1,000 feet, 65 decibels is a normal conversation? I beg to differ. That's all I've got.
Excuse me, I was just going to suggest that because we haven't had, there's been like 100 questions in a row. It's kind of hard to answer. Okay, so I was just going to ask Ryan if there's anything he would like to address on that. He's welcome to do so. But obviously we can't answer 100,000 questions. But I would like a list of what you prepared, sir. And if I can get answers for it, I surely will because that's what we're here for. Okay? Ryan, would you like to address any of that, sir? I know it was a lot, or anybody for that matter. Yeah.
My name is Chris Miller. Mr. Richardson, was the very first question on the power plant and the emissions. The power plant will meet all TCEQ standards for base load generation and prime load generation set by the state. So that's not something that can be negotiated or anything else. You apply for the permit based on your total usage, and then the TCEQ gives the power plant operator very strict standards on what emissions and mitigation equipment must be included to meet those annual VOC, NOx, all of the associated stuff that's broken out on the TCEQ website.
Have you made those applications yet?
No, sir.
To answer the comment from your wife, who I thought was very insightful, we do plan to kind of create a path of education. There's a lot of good data center technician resources in South Texas at local community colleges that we definitely plan to give some information to the city that the young workforce can take a path and earn a career in data infrastructure.
And on the somebody asked the question also about subcontractors and local entities. yeah, we absolutely in advance would put out our bonding and insurance requirements that would be required of us and any subcontractors, whether they're electricians, mechanical, or plumbing. They would all have well in advance what criteria they would need to meet in order to support the project and work with us. So.
Okay, we also have an online question real quick. What are the health risks that we need to be aware of?
I mean, basically how we've addressed, the biggest health risk would be, an on-site worker, making sure that working conditions are safe. I think traffic is a big one. Obviously, you have a lot of heavy equipment moving down the highway. Us working with TxDOT and local law enforcement to ensure that the roadways are safe. I think that's the biggest thing to make sure that the public safety is of utmost concern. As far as the data center itself, like I said earlier, there's a lot of misinformation out there. We believe that the distance that this facility will be from town mitigates a lot of sound, light effects. But I believe that the biggest health risk would be traffic related, and working, like we said, with local officials to make sure that the traffic plan and we're staying out of downtown Devine with heavy equipment and hauling is a big thing.
All right. Before we proceed, if I might suggest, for the sake of brevity, perhaps pick a couple of questions where they could actually be answered. And then if you have additional questions, obviously there's a lot of questions that aren't going to be able to be answered this evening, all right? Because we have a lot of questions ourselves. There's a lot of research to be done on our end. There's much more discussion to come. So if you would, pick some of what you consider to be the most important questions and give us the rest. It gives us more to research and more to find out, okay? Next up, we have Philip, begins with an F, and he must have gotten here early, so if he's here, please come to the podium. I can't read the rest of the writing. He kind of writes like I do. The address, I believe, is on West Moore. Okay, all right, moving on. Okay, next up we have Heather Yanta. And for the record, name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Heather Yanta. We own properties at the airport, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know those addresses. We also have the ranch at 320 County Road 654. I know that one. So it's not on my... From listening to you speak, Ryan, it seems like you are the builder, the developer of the facility. So who owns it? Who's going to run it? Like, who are we going to be dealing with for the rest of our lives?
That is correct. Texas Energy Group, we are an energy management and power infrastructure firm, so technically we are the developers of this property. We pretty much have the development rights right now to the property. There will eventually be what you would call a hyperscaler or a data center operator that will come in and own the facility. We are in negotiations with several high-end, very credible groups. No one has been selected yet. Once that does take place, we will absolutely formally introduce them, and happy to host another town hall meeting, let you guys answer questions or propose questions and introduce them the proper way.
So is that who actually the negotiations are going to be with, as far as what all of the things that have to be negotiated in this, or are you the negotiator of all of this?
As the developer of the property, it's basically our job to get the project ready for development, and so Texas Energy Group will be leading a lot of the conversations with city stakeholders and the community to start.
I just think it's interesting that we've just heard a wonderful sales pitch from somebody who's trying to sell us on this project, but we're not being presented by anybody, any experts, anybody with a contrarian view. We're not being given any kind of balance. This feels like a very one-sided conversation. I just want to say real quick, I love this area. The people here have never failed to hear of a need and rise to meet it. I love this place. I hope each and every one of you have come to hear our concerns, to hear our hopes, to answer our questions, and not just try to convince us of what this young salesman very eloquently is trying to sell to us.
1 minute.
We understand that we cannot tell people who to sell their land to or whether they can build a data center on their land. I don't want that. I don't want to live in a place like that. But do we have to roll out the red carpet to them? Do we have to make everything so easy? Why the large tax abatements? Why promise them our resources, our utilities? Residents who live here and love this place deserve to have our concerns investigated, their interests protected. I'm curious if any one of you have gone to visit places where there are already data centers functioning. Have you visited with the area? Have you seen the actual repercussions of those people that are having to live amongst data centers? Or are we all just living in this land of PowerPoints on the information that we're getting? And I know y'all probably can't answer a lot of that, but those are my concerns. Are y'all really interested in finding out the negative effects, or are we just believing a salesperson's pitch? Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. And yes, ma'am, we are very interested in finding out every single thing there is to know about this. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Kirsten Snyder.
Hello, my name is Kirsten Schneider. I live on County Road 6612 here in Devine. My name's Kirsten. I'm a resident of Devine, Texas. My ancestors came to Medina County from Alsace, France in the 1840s. We have proudly called Medina County home for generations. Before I begin, I want to say that I believe that landowners have the right to do whatever they want with their land and money. With that being said, I find it disturbing that landowners are no longer the stewards of the land that our ancestors were. I also feel that landowners should consider the rest of our community when making decisions that will affect our resources. Tonight, I'm speaking not only for myself, but for many other citizens who feel ignored, dismissed, and deliberately kept in the dark regarding the proposed 9th data center in our county. For weeks, residents have asked questions and emailed and called our city and county officials. Time after time, we are met with the same response from them. Where are you getting your information? As if our elected leaders are of superior intellect to the rest of us. So where are we getting our information? Elected officials? Our city and county community members are learning from other communities that are already living beside data centers. Communities dealing with increased water concerns, noise, strain on their infrastructure, and unanswered promises. Where are we getting our information? Elected officials? From experienced, boots on the ground, data center operators. For example, a retired chilled water plant and data operator named Charles Meklejek has explained to us the dynamics of the cooling systems commonly used by these facilities. He stated that both open loop and closed loop systems still rely on towers that are open to the environment, resulting in evaporation and water loss. In addition, he reported that on both open and closed loop systems, that additional water is drained for blowdown to maintain the conductivity of the water, resulting in impurities that are left behind.
1 minute.
Where are we getting our information, elected officials?
Okay, time out. Time out.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Oh, we're not here to be berated by you. We are here to help provide information.
Okay. Well, all I'm saying is quit.
Anyway, just please refrain from the sarcasm and continue.
I'd like to have about 15 extra seconds then. We are continuing to seek experts and factual information. We're discussing the option of bringing Clayton Tucker, a gentleman who is running for Texas Agriculture Commissioner, to Devine for an information session. He's extremely knowledgeable about the way data centers are currently affecting our region. This way, our citizens and leaders can hear directly about the effects data centers are having on rural communities and agricultural reasons. My question is, why are the citizens having to search for answers? Why are you not giving us this information that you're privy to? I have a question for you, city elected officials. Where are you getting your information from? A snake oil salesperson?
Time.
Okay, next up we have Debbie McDonald. And please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Certainly. My name's Debbie McDonald. I'm a longtime resident of actually Natalia. We already have one being built in between Devine. Well, you're going to have yours over here. We're going to have ours between Lytle and Devine. I've been a long-term resident, and I love Medina County. I did my research on active data centers that have already been built and going up north to find out what's really happening to those poor rural communities around them. They've been wanting to warn us. These data centers aren't for us. They aren't for our communities. They're built for themselves. And they gave me some of the things that have been going on for them, damaging with their water, electric, noise, the health, their light pollution. Those are just a few of the things these data centers have caused. The water, data centers came in, Mr. Knuckles, and they told them, we're not going to be using your infrastructure. We're going to do ours. We only do about 2 swimming pools and recycle. You know what happened? They started losing their water. The pressure was gone. Wells were drying up. Ranchers, cattlemen, farmers could dig wells and hit water at 20 feet. That changed to 200 feet. And so they had their water people go in, their water companies came in, what is going on? Well, they found out it was the data centers, using 500 million gallons of water a day. That's a city's worth, a day. Larger ones use more.
Where's this resource that you're pulling from, ma'am?
That is a source from up north with an active data center going on.
What's your
and what is
specific
your
source?
source, sir?
Ma'am?
I want to talk. I have 3 minutes, that's all I've got. So the other thing is the electric. No, well, I'm sorry. No, he was asking me a question. He didn't answer. And so anyway, on the electric, they told them they weren't going to be using our electric grid. They did. Now the people in that rural area have to do 75% more on their electrical cost. So yes, it does end up affecting. You come in and say you won't use, but then they do. You don't even say you know the owners of this place. How can you even say they're going to do 400 employees when you don't even know who's going to own it? Most data centers up there do 25 to most 150, depending on the size of the data centers. We can do it, people. Other counties have done it. Hill County just banned these data centers from coming in. We can do it. If we band together, get our committees together, we can stop this. So let's unite.
1 minute.
So let's unite and let's do it. Let's push these data centers out of Medina County because they're wanting 9. We're a county that's in extreme drought. We're under restrictions of water. Data centers won't be. We'll be without water. You're running our farmers off their land. We won't have the food. So we're going to be buying our food, our water from where? Tell us that. So band together. We can do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie, for your concerns. Next up, we have Marcia Swilly.
Good evening. My name is Marcia Swilly. I live at... Do I need to get close? Oh, I need to get closer. I'm sorry. My name is Marcia Swilly. I live at 5019 FM 1343. And I have 2 questions. My first question is, Will your facility receive priority restoration after outages over residential users?
Residential users always prioritize first in any type of what I would call emergency services, hospitals, schools, anything of that sort. And so what's good about the coming legislator about data centers being forced in demand response, that's going to be law, is in times of high demand when residential or any type of critical industry needs power, these data centers are going to curtail usage and give power back to the grid, back to residential or the individual users during times of peak demand.
Okay, thank you for clarification. My second question. What chemicals are used in the cooling systems? Anti-scaling agents, biocides, anything of that nature, and what are their names?
The water, it's our understanding the water is pre-treated, therefore they're inside the stainless steel and the piping system. There are no chemicals. So.
What exactly does pre-treatment mean?
I think it's demineralization. I'm happy to get the information and share it with the individuals. So.
Okay, so the demineralization or whatever those preparations are done inside of the cooling system, not
prior to injection.
Prior to injection. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Marcia. Next up, Kathy Kammerer. I hope I said it right. If not, please correct me. All right. Close enough. Thank you.
Okay, I want to know.
Try to get to the mic, please, if you can.
I want to know, are there going to be lithium batteries? Are we going to have a storage spot for that? And if we do, who's going to pay for the additional training, equipment, and staffing for our fire department to take care of those? Should we have a fire, industrial or otherwise? And that's my only question. Who is responsible for paying for the upgrades that will be required to take care of the equipment at your site?
I'll take the battery system. The best system can use lithium. It can also use, there's different battery systems. Ultimately, that'll be, at an end user's decision. As far as civil services, that's all part of the discussions. We've seen the types of customers that we're dealing with. They subscribe to again, working with local civil services and city services on any increased capacity or security or fire protection. So.
We depend a lot on our volunteer firemen. So
yes, ma'am.
We don't have a lot of equipment.
Right.
To that point, and that brings up, before you leave, in all major projects, data center projects that we've developed, all of the hyperscalers have always donated significant amounts of money and resources to the local fire department to make sure that they do have the resources and training to deal with any type of industrial fire, including battery storage systems.
Thank you, Kathy. Now we have Scott Swilly. Name and address for the record, please.
I'm Scott Swilly. I live 1343. Marsha's my wife over there. Sorry. If you want, I can use coach voice. You can all hear me, I promise you. Just got one question, basically. I'm not even sure you can answer this, okay? Talking to the mic. Okay, I got to eat it. Okay, we're going to eat the microphone. All right. Because we're concerned about water and power usage. Will the water and power usage to be publicly reported quarterly and independently audited to ensure transparency? And basically, it's are we going to know how much they're using all the time? I mean, to be honest about it, it would be nice to know that they tell us we're going to be using this much. That's how much we're going to be using. And then we go along 3 months later, and all of a sudden, we're not getting any information, and nothing's being said. So to me, that is one of the big things we need transparency on.
Very good question. As far as the water usage, if we annex into the city and have obviously city utilities, there'll be a meter. The local water authority, should be more than happy to say, yeah, they've been falling on track and not overusaging. As far as power, power meters are a private infrastructure resource, not necessarily readily shared, but I can tell you that in terms of the max usage of the 800 megawatts, 400 gas, 400 grid, it would be pretty hard to exceed that simply because there's only so much bandwidth the local transmission utility is willing to give, and that's basically the stipulated capacity at this time.
Okay. That's why I was asking. It's just, those are two big areas that we're concerned with right now. Thank you.
I'll just expand on the utility side. There's a mechanical cap, like there's a physical limitation. If you exceed your interconnect draw, the system trips offline. So that's how the utility regulates anybody from overage.
Okay, we would like to insert an online question. What are the lifespans of data centers, and will the land still be viable after operations have concluded? Something I hadn't thought about.
That's a very good question. In terms of the lifespan of a power plant, of a data center, it's typically 25 to 30 years in terms of like physical infrastructure. But as you progress along the way, maintenance things are completed to continuously, push out that lifespan as the project progresses and stays in motion. Let's just say if for whatever reason, if the data center went away, having that amount of physical infrastructure, there's been plenty of times where old Bitcoin mines have been repurposed into manufacturing facilities where heavy industry has come in and taken that power and capacity, but there would be many uses of industrial or manufacturing capabilities of having that infrastructure, physical infrastructure in place.
And I'll just expand on the structure or building itself. I think we've all seen with this what goes on inside the building from a GPU or application, computational application. That's going to evolve with the speed of technology. But all of the hyperscalers are trying to maximize, obviously, investment. So the idea is that building and structure is built for many decades, but the end application, they leave themselves flexibility on the inside of the building.
And to give a quick intro of this gentleman sitting next to me, he's one of my fellow co-founders in Texas Energy. His name's Chris Miller. He runs our EPC company, electrical infrastructure business. Chris is a 30-plus year veteran in building critical infrastructure all across the world.
Thank you, Chris. Debbie McDonald. Oh, I'm just going down the list. Thanks, Debbie. All right. Next up, I believe this is Omar from Natalia. No last name. So now you got to give us your last name.
Hello. Omar from Natalia. First of all, I want to say
What's your
congrats
last
to
name,
Devine.
sir?
Oh, sorry. I'm nervous. Natalia, it's 269-6848 County Road. Oh, Omar Lopez.
Thanks, Omar.
First of all, I want to say great turnout, guys. It's awesome to see. Good evening, council members. My name is Omar Lopez. I am a Medina County resident. I understand this meeting is not specifically about Project Cinco, but Project Cinco is the clearest example residents have to a larger concern. Major industrial scale project moving forward in our area before the public has access to independent studies on water, traffic, emergency response, infrastructure, and long-term community impact. Through formal public information requests, Medina County confirmed in writing that it did not possess water use estimates, aquifer impact studies, emergency service reviews, or public safety impact studies related to Project Cinco before approvals move forward. Around this time, The Edwards Aquifer Authority also confirmed it did not receive hydrogeologic or water use documentation for that project. That timeline matters because it shows residents were asked to trust the project before key impacts were independently studied or made public. As more data center projects are discussed in our area, residents may hear key terms like closed loop cooling, traffic mitigation, and low impact operations or economic development. Those claims are not substitutes for independent public review studies or infrastructure evaluations. Residents deserve to know whether these projects have been evaluated for long-term water demand, emergency response capacity, traffic strain, power infrastructure, industrial noise, property value impacts, and cumulative effects on surrounding communities. Many residents are already dealing with water restrictions, pressure concerns, power outages, road strain, and infrastructure issues. These concerns should not be addressed after the fact when construction is already under the way and decisions are harder to reverse. I'm not against growth, technology, or responsible development, but growth should not come at the expense of resident safety, water security, home values, or financial stability.
1 minute.
If these projects are truly low impact and responsibly planned, then the supporting documentation should exist, should withstand public scrutiny, and should be made available before additional phases or similar projects move forward. I'm asking for written answers, independent review, and real accountability process before communities are expected to absorb risks we did not choose. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar.
Do we have any answers to those?
I didn't hear a whole lot of questions. I heard.
To answer just like a general comment of asking, contributing information back. Our phase 1 environmental study is nearly complete on the property. We had geotechs out there last week and earlier this week. Happy to share that. I mean, the initial environmental report and the impact is incredibly low. Soil composition of retaining any type of water runoff, we're in process of it, and we're happy to share it once it's done. But this is still very early stages, and everything is still in motion, but we're happy to be transparent and share information as it progresses.
It's in motion.
Let's move on, please. Let's move on.
It's third party.
Okay. Next up, I'm afraid I can't read the writing again. It's Flora G something. Flora Gert, thank you, got it. Flora Gert, got it.
And I live on County Road 6611. One question.
Oh, let's try that.
Okay. How about now? That one? Oh, there you go. Now I can't remember. Have you conducted a hydrogeologic impact study, and if so, is it publicly available?
Okay.
As Ron just stated, it's in commission. It's been commissioned. We do not have the results yet. The lead time is
It's usually 3 to 4 weeks. So
Okay.
as soon as the environmental and the water studies have been done, we're happy to share it with the community.
What was that question again?
Have you conducted a hydrogeologic impact study? If so, is it publicly available?
All right. Devine Champagne, I believe.
Good evening. Devine Champagne, I live on County Road 45. Good evening, my name is Devine City. I live on County Road.
Closer.
Yeah. There you go. I haven't had a mic that's this sensitive before. Anyways, Dwayne Champagne, I live on County Road 4514. Little bit of backgrounds, retired Marine, data center, NOx, SOx, you name it. I've had every job from a deputy program manager of engineering for General Dynamics to a full-blown senior enterprise operations manager. So I've done everything in the area that you're talking about. That you haven't sold yet, as far as you don't have a customer yet. You don't have a base. You have ideas on who your customer is going to be, but you don't have a customer yet. You just said that. All of your customers that you're talking about are part of the TEBA or the SEBA, right? As far as the Texas Energy Bureau, Texas Energy Buyers Alliance, and all that other stuff that builds all the data centers, you guys are probably a sub of those individuals. So we know who you're talking about as far as who's going to come inside here. We understand those individuals, and they're all about profit. So since they're all about profit, one of the main questions that I want to ask everybody here and to the county officials is, have you signed non-disclosures? Have you signed non-disparagement agreements with these individuals? Those are the questions that the public needs to know.
We haven't signed anything.
Okay, good.
Okay, yeah, absolutely nothing.
Because I know I've been in the realm of looking at all this stuff since Howard Solstice said that they're going to go across my property. And that's where your power is coming from. So everybody who's doing all kinds of shady backdoor deals when it comes to the power, the water, the building data centers across the United States, here in Texas, 10 of them here that are supposed to be inside the county. We don't want that. Nobody wants that. Just like some of these individuals have said. Nobody here wants a data center in their backyard. But yet again, our officials, the ones that are supposed to represent us, are advocating for it. Whether you are or not, you're here. You have these individuals who haven't even signed up for a person or a entity to build their area.
1 minute.
So it's one of those. The main question, because everybody else has pretty much asked all the stuff that I wanted to ask, is, no kidding, non-disclosures, non-disparagement, so you can't talk bad about these companies that are out there. Everything that they're saying is factual. You walk around a lot of the stuff because you're a salesman. We get it. We understand that. But nobody here wants this. Nobody here wants a data center. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Ann Terillion.
Ann Terillion.
Terillion?
Terillion. Kind of
I got
like a
it.
million, wish I had that. 15794 FM 471 South.
Thank you.
My property's the one at the curve that's got the pipeline, the new WTG pipeline that's going to supply the natural gas, I'm sure, for some of the data centers here. My question for you guys is more strategic, and at the risk of being stoned by the crowd, I'm aware, as you are, that the law, there is nothing in the law that allows you to prevent the data centers from coming, whether we want it or not. Landowners are allowed to sell their land, companies are allowed to buy their land. And so from a strategic perspective, they've talked about the 9 or 10 data centers that are already in Medina County. Are y'all aware of other data centers currently looking? Okay. So from a strategic perspective, on 1343 and the railroad track, Microsoft has already bought 525 acres. You can guess what's going to be going in there. I know this is the instance that y'all are working on tonight, but I'm hoping and encouraging y'all to look strategically at what's sauce for the goose, sauce for the gander, that as you figure out whether you're going to annex these guys, how we're gonna supply resources to them and infrastructure, that you look at this is not the last one. Because and it's already on the Medina County CAD, that Microsoft owns that 525 acres at 1343 in the railroad tracks. Have you got an insight to the strategic approach that y'all are going to take, or
Oh, no,
you'll be
none
thinking about
whatsoever.
it? Say it again.
Nothing whatsoever. As far as 1343, I think I read about it in the newspaper. But like I'm saying, I wish everybody would listen again. This barely started for us a month ago, okay? We have a lot of the same questions that I've heard tonight, okay? We are not advocating for anything, okay? Regardless of how you feel or how you think. I know how I think, and I know that we as a panel are trying to keep open eyes and open ears. And that's basically it. That's why we're here tonight, okay? Thank you so much. Online question. What will you do with contaminated water when it needs to be replaced?
Anytime the fluids are swapped out or cycled, I mean, they use proper disposal methods. They're trucked out. They follow that hazardous routes. It's not disposed of on site. That is all commercially disposed of.
Where? Yeah. 3 feet away?
There are commercial injection wells, commercial disposal facilities for solids and liquids.
Oh, can I ask one question, please?
Okay, let's let him answer. Okay, the main question was, where are these facilities? Please.
There are solids and saltwater disposal wells all across the Eagle Ford Shale.
Can I ask one question, please? Just throw off that. Demineralized water, now we're having to truck it out of town.
That was just a question.
Okay.
That was just a question being asked. It's literally purified water. There's no plans for any type of immersion system that uses dielectric fluid, which is a different situation. It's purified water.
So it's not contaminated water. So then why do you have to?
Okay. All right, let's get back to the program, please. Okay. Next up, we have Max Blakenzie. Max Blakenzie. All right. Sharp Whitley.
Sharp Whitley, 3181 County Road 7711. So my first question is, even if the city doesn't annex the site, are y'all going to build it? What? If the city does not annex the site, are y'all still going to build it?
That is correct.
So, how many gallons of water per year do you say you use?
Based on the presentation I gave you guys, that first fill up at full capacity, which it'll likely be done in stages, but at full capacity, it's about 1.7 billion gallons of water, and then the evaporative rates per year is about a 2% rate, and so that'll last you about 15 years.
So with the 525 acres, it seems like there's a pattern to that. With it, and I didn't know all this, I just started reading on it the other day. 525 acres, you get 2 acre-foot of water, so you get 1,050 acre-feet of water. So I guess they all know that, how much they get. So if you're getting the 97,000, or let's say 1 million gallons of water a year, what you're saying roughly?
No, that's the initial. The 1.7 million gallons is an initial thing, over 15 years, and then 2% per year is evaporated.
And then how often are you going to do your maintenance? How much will you lose in your maintenance?
I mean, the 2% evaporative cooling is
not maintenance. I understand the evaporator. If you have a closed loop, it shouldn't evaporate. But if you have cooling towers, which I don't know if you're going to have, is showing you like an 80% loss. So,
the cooling towers, if for whatever reason there was maintenance, you would shut down the system, maintenance it, and turn it back on.
What are the cooling towers used for?
Moving water and cooling it.
And then on your annual, do you have to do an annual shutdown and display and change out the water?
No, I just told you, it's 15 years, evaporates every 2 years. Or excuse me, 2% every year to last for 15 years.
But you don't have to do, what you said a while ago, you'd have to truck the water out when you're doing maintenance and send it off. So you don't have to change the water out every year.
If for whatever reason, if there was a maintenance issue on a cooling tower, you would simply shut in the pipe. It would be contaminated, basically trapped in the pipe. You'd work on the system, then you would turn it back on.
So
that initial fill per cooling tower lasts 15 years.
All right, then we'll stick to the gas generations. For the electrical, I mean, water's a big thing around here, but now we'll go to the power too. So you're talking about bringing the gas lines and the gas generator. Is that gonna be online when you bring the site on? Or is it something that, well, we'll get to that?
The power generation on site will be the prime base load
So
to
is that
start.
gonna be in writing somewhere that we know? I'm not trying to make anybody upset, but is there gonna be somewhere in writing that says y'all gonna handle the load and that the city of Devine doesn't suffer because y'all need the power to power it up?
No, all initial power for construction and primary operation base load will be generated on site from day
And y'all gonna pay for all the power lines coming in, that our rates aren't gonna go up and everything else, because right now it's all crazy anyhow. Taxes are crazy, so that's gonna get to my next question. Why should we give you a tax break now? Why should
As far as the power lines, I mean, I answered that in the presentation where we're paying for all infrastructure. Bring this amount of economic value to a city and job creation tax base that you're going to use to upgrade the city.
Let the man speak.
That is an immense opportunity, and usually there's a little bit of a give and take type situation where tax abatements are willing to be replicated to bring that economic value to your community.
I understand.
Let the man speak or we will discontinue.
I understand that everybody's here, you're here to make money, I understand. When you hear statements earlier where like $66 billion or billions of dollars made, but you want to take a tax credit from a small podunk community, because that's what people come in here and look at, it's like a bunch of rednecks, we don't know better. You can't just come in here and say, yeah, we need a tax break for 10 years. You might only be here for 10 years, even though you stay here for 25 years. So you'll get your tax break and then haul it. And then we're sitting there holding the back.
It's time.
Just to inform real quickly, this company is not the end user. They won't have anything to do with tax abatements. That will be an agreement, if it comes to be, that will be an agreement between the city of Devine and the company that is the eventual end user, okay? And then also, just so people can understand a little bit, 1.7 million gallons is approximately 5 acre-feet of water, okay? So, how do I know? Because we did the math. So, anyway, I'm just trying to put it in perspective for you. So the city of Devine last year used approximately 940 acre-feet of water, right? And then also, just for informational purposes, the water rights that come with that property, if the city were to annex, would be transferred to the city of Devine. Okay? So that's just a fact. Anyway, moving on. Sabrina Compa.
Hi, Sabrina Compa, South at 624 South H132, and this might just be too soon to ask, but my only concern is if granted access to Devine utilities, what construction or impact would it have on homes in the immediate area, and more specifically, last home on within Devine City limits?
If we did annex into the city, and obviously city services were brought out down 132, obviously everyone would reap that benefit. There would be, a stipulated line size of the size of water supplied in that pipe, and it also would be taking into consideration the houses served off of that line. So we would basically work with city utilities in understanding, hey, what is the best size water line to not only service our property, but obviously the local community as well.
Okay, thank you.
Sabrina? Crosby, please.
Good morning, or afternoon, evening.
Please state your name and address, please.
Oh, Brian Crosby, 399 County Road 767. I'm your new neighbor. Y'all are on my east fence line. So, I have a couple questions. Also, I'm on the airport board, so I have some airport considerations too. Your presentation actually answers most of my engineering questions. Can y'all make that available? Can you post it on a website or something so we can get that?
Yes, sir.
My big concerns are sound level, light levels, emissions, and runoff control, since obviously if it runs off, it's coming to me. If you can post that information, I'd appreciate it. I'd also like to know, like some of the background, especially for your sound levels, because I'm an engineer. I've worked in every industry. I've stood up Air Force repair depots, and those numbers look a little conservative to me. I just want to make sure that I'm not going to have to soundproof my house or build walls so that I can listen to you. Also, I would like more information about the lights. So, you know, making this presentation available would be very helpful. I think also if you could provide either a website or an email address for us to ask you these questions in a more calm and less caring environment. So, let's see. How far, okay, I've heard two different things tonight. Is it a 400 megawatt on-site power plant?
Yes, sir.
Natural gas fire? Okay. That's going to be on the southeast portion of your property?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a few thousand feet away from me, so I'm not displeased with that. Now, have you, and Michael, we need to talk about this too. You're gonna be right under the downwind lake for our runway, and we have a lot of training traffic there. So we may have to reconsider our traffic pattern at the airport. Do you have any precedent or any information you can provide us with regards to data centers that are in close proximity to an airport?
Not specifically data centers, but electrical infrastructure and power plants.
Yeah.
We very recently went through a project with the FAA, worked around glide slopes, repositioned transmission and distribution poles.
Okay. All right. So you're familiar, and I guess now you're painfully aware that there's going to be air traffic through there too.
Yes, sir.
1 minute.
That's basically it. Welcome to my neighborhood, I think.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Next up, Paul Thompson.
Like I said, Paul Thompson, 120 Private Road, 6700 Natalia, pretty nearby. One thing I wanted to say, thank you to everybody here that's putting this on right now for having this meeting. Mayor, I think you're doing a great job. I like the fact that you said nothing has been settled yet. Everybody's keeping an open mind and listening to all the comments. One thing I want to bring out that it was almost an afterthought, Mr. Knuckles. You had a very telling presentation. You're a good salesman as a builder. But you said that you're going to have a 400 megawatt generator, natural gas generator, on site with a 800 megawatt total power consumption. Now, it looks like, from what I'm seeing, using AI, which is why we're building this thing for, it says a typical 400 watt power generation uses 1.5 million to 2.5 million gallons of water a day in their cooling tower. Is that correct?
No, sir, that would be a combined cycle gas plant. This will be simple cycle, which uses far, far less water. So.
Now, I know that it seems like the biggest thing we're building here is not just a data center. We're building a power plant. size of this plant, I was trying to get a size of the thing. We could power literally half of all the homes in San Antonio with the power that this plant is going to be generating. With the heat this putting on, everybody knows that data centers are tremendous energy hogs, which is why they have to have tremendous air conditioning capacity to try to get rid of all that heat, which is also why you have to have natural gas on-site power production, because otherwise you'd be sucking the power dry. If everybody was here a few years ago, we had that little power outage and several hundred people died. They may remember that we have some issues with that, as well as with water. Hopefully what you're saying on water is accurate. I know some of the things that have been spoken of before is noise pollution. I've been hearing something about low frequency hum that can be heard from miles away. I didn't see that specifically spoken to in the presentation. I know declining property values are going to be, it's going to happen. And nobody wants to build next to a gigantic industrial facility with lights and noise and heat all the time. The heat island is one thing that really hasn't been spoken about. With just the amount of power that's being consumed in this one place, I mean, we could power half of all of San Antonio with just the power that's being generated in this one place for this one tiny plant, in this one tiny town. That's a hell of a lot of heat. Where's all that heat going? What is the heat island effect going to be for all the neighborhoods around here? How much is it going to raise the temperature ambient? I know the one thing I want to say I think before anything happens, we need to have an independent environmental impact statement. The first one, and I think it needs to be 100% independent. We don't need to have one paid for by the builder or the general or whoever's going to be opening this place. It needs to be independent. Maybe that's something Devine should contact for.
Thank you, sir. Guys, if you would you please address that about that power plant could power half of the homes in San Antonio? It sounds kind of way out there.
I don't know the daily demand for the city of San Antonio. That being said, 400 megawatts is a substantial amount of power, and multiple power plants of that size are located throughout the state that do power the transmission and distribution and service providers. But I don't know the math of working backwards into San Antonio.
What about the heat?
Sure, absolutely. So the power plant, whether it's multiple smaller power plants or more of a combined power plant, the heat is what captures, we capture the heat. We absolutely want to retain that heat for power use purposes. The exhaust stacks and the attenuation is something to where within this TCEQ emissions permit process, we're modeling the heat dissipation, and any and all manufacturers and suppliers of equipment have to meet the TCEQ criteria in order to obtain that permit to even turn on commission.
And as far as the data center itself, guys, and I know you hear about these heat islands, a lot of that really has to do with if a data center is built in an extreme, city climate and there's a lot of concrete laid. But as we said, a lot of the ranch itself will be left rural and in the exterior condition that is in, that will be minimal amount of concrete that radiates heat.
Mayor, on the last person's question, can we get Mr. Miller to clarify something?
I'm sorry, the last person, what now?
Based on the questions that he asked as far as water use, does the power plant and the data center, is that 1.7 million for both, or are they separate? And if so, how much?
Good question.
He asked you a question, we need you to clarify that, how much the power plant uses as opposed to the data center.
Yes, sir. Those numbers are cumulative. I can very quickly on my phone while the next people are asking questions, pull up the LUEs or the breakout of the water usage of the simple cycle power plant.
I'm sure Mr. Cook would like to hear that as well when you can get it.
Sure.
Okay, as we move on, all right, if you have pointed questions, please allow them to answer it. Okay? So, Shelley Estrada.
I'm Shelley Estrada, 2111 Geneva Court in Castroville. Okay, I'm here because in Castroville right now, they're already building 2 on Highway 90. And now they're building 1, from what I understand, they're gonna be building 2 here in Devine. 1, is there another one that's 525 acres that's gonna be close by?
1343.
That's the one we're discussing this evening. The
Oh,
only one.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And then they're also going to be building another one in Castroville at the golf course. So the people that live at the golf course are really excited because their houses, like mine, are going to go down in value. Mine has gone down the last 2 years in value, so I'm really excited about selling it. I'll get a whole lot more than I used to. What I want to know about are, what are the tax breaks that the data centers are getting from the cities? Are they getting tax breaks annually? I mean, are the people in the city paying taxes for the data centers?
I can answer that for you. There is no tax abatement, there is no agreement, there's nothing at all right now, nothing. Okay, so in other words, the taxpayers aren't paying a dime for this. Hopefully never will. Okay, so there is no agreements in place, there are no abatements, there's nothing.
And the energy costs, the people won't be paying more money for energy than the data centers. The data centers won't get a break in paying for their energy like for the first 10 years?
I don't see how that
Because I
would apply.
think that's what our city said they would do, what Castroville said they would do is pay for.
Well, we have a lengthy process. If
Give
we
them a
decide to
break.
pursue this, there would be a very lengthy process to iron out all the things that you're discussing.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 minute.
And I know when we had a bad winter here and we all lost our power, it was for a couple days but he said some people died. And I was really concerned that the data processing centers would go up before the people's houses, that electricity went up there. But I heard him say no. And I'm wondering if the damage that those places are going to do to the people around them, the loss of hearing with some kids, and the bone density that kids are going to be getting from the power, and the livestock. The cows are going to not give milk like they used to. They're not going to have little cows. You're going to lose some of the butterflies, the insects. You're going to lose some of the rodent animals. You're going to lose some of everything just in the neighborhood. You're going to lose, yes, the habitat. So I'm really concerned about nature going away for a big cement building making noise and hurting people.
Thank you, Shelley.
Mr. Richard, I have the answer to the power plant. So
Okay, clarify, this is the power plant separate from the actual data center?
Yes, sir. This is the 400 megawatt power plant.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. This would be 45,000 gallons of demi water per year. And so that is replaced. So it is a fraction of that 1.7 million that we're alluding to at the pre-charge rate. But that is annual. So 45,000 gallons for the entire power plant per year. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Cheryl Gaypark, please.
My name is Cheryl Gaypart, and I live in 511 Mockingbird Lane. Most of my concerns and questions have already been answered. But I was wondering, who's going to vote on whether this is annexed into our city water? Y'all? We don't get to vote on it? How come?
It's a simple matter that the city council represents the community. We have single-member districts. You have a council person. Each person in the city has a council person. Okay, that's how things are done. There will be annexation hearings if it comes to be. There will be public hearings for that, to hear comments, etc. Very similar to today. Okay, but it's nothing that would get voted on unless the council decides to do it. If the council says, hey, we want to put this up to a vote for the citizens, then it may happen.
Do it.
As far as I know.
Suppose that y'all vote to annex them in,
Okay.
and all this stuff they've told us is proven to not be true. Do we have any recourse?
That's a good question. If it's not true, I would say there's going to be all kinds of contracts. There's going to be quite a bit of legal type stuff involved. For example, okay, I'll give you one right now. An online question says, what legally binding protections exist if water projections are exceeded? I asked this question just yesterday. Okay, just like the city can get its water limited by the Edwards Aquifer Authority in times of drought, those same restrictions could apply to the data center. Okay, so if they were to be annexed, right, the city provides the water. All right, so they're paying the city for the water, just like you, just like me, just like everyone else. Okay, and they also will have to go with those rules. Okay, so in other words, this isn't a carte blanche. You get to use all the water you want in the entire world, right? And they know that, right? And they project for that. Okay, so there are water protections that exist.
But if they break them, can we unannex them?
Well, I would say, yeah, we could shut off the water.
1 minute.
So, yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Kayleen Holder.
Hi, I'm Kayleen Holder. I live on County Road 5710. Thank you for coming and for taking questions. I appreciate that. Can you tell us the name and location of 2 or 3 other data centers y'all have built for hyperscalers so we can, that are up and running already? So that we could kind of see for ourselves and talk to those cities or those counties about what the impacts are?
Again, we don't build the call it data center stand up. We're just the power plant developers. Our first 3 hyperscale projects were pretty much all in the Central Texas area. One was outside of Lockhart and one was in Gerald, Texas.
Can you be more specific, like the name of them?
I mean, it just was in Gerald, Texas, and one was just north of Lockhart.
Okay, so there's only one there?
There is 3 different properties.
But they're all yours?
Those are projects that we basically did the power plant development on, and someone else is doing the, call it data center erection.
So my other question is, if we don't know who the hyperscaler company that's coming in will be, where are all these projections coming from? How do we know how much water they're using, et cetera?
Based on the total output of the data center, 800 megawatts, we look at it on a per development basis of per building, and that's basically by generalized, cooling methods with closed loop systems, with current rack density of the servers and the water demand to cool those servers, and it's basically a generalized engineered number. That's kind of a base plate.
So no real number.
Do you plan on
That's a real number.
drilling any wells?
It all depends on the outcome of the annexation situation.
So if you don't get annexed, then you'll drill wells?
That's correct.
1 minute.
Do you have a scrubber to catch emissions on your power plant? And what materials are used in the scrubber, such as calcium or crushed limestone or whatever the materials are? Is there a backup for the scrubber when the scrubber goes down, because that happens often? And what do you do with the waste from that? Does it go into a landfill, or do you use it to, you haul it off to be recycled for sheetrock, or?
Yep, very good question. So whether it's GE or Siemens or Mitsubishi Power, whatever the requirements are for the TCEQ emissions, they will be the certified installer of the mitigation equipment. So however much, mitigation is required, that system would be installed and shipped with the unit in and of itself. The maintenance of the facility is daily. So the power plant is manned every single day. There's constantly ongoing daily, monthly, annual inspections based off hours running. And so the scrubbers and any failure within the plant are obviously tried to be identified in advance of that. So
Do you have a backup one, or no?
yes, there are backups on site.
And are y'all negotiable on the sound levels and light levels and those types of things that y'all presented? Is that part of the thing that we can negotiate if we do annex and offer a tax break?
Yeah, I mean, I would defer to you and your city council. With annex, as I believe someone mentioned, there are guardrails that can be put in place. Without annexation, those guardrails don't exist.
But y'all can reduce the sound levels if y'all wanted to?
Yes, through technology and again, additional mitigation, sound attenuation can be added.
Thanks, Kayleen. Tommy Ramirez.
Thank y'all for being here this evening. Thank y'all for the presentation you made. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to just share a couple of quick thoughts. Everybody has expressed their concerns, and I want you all to understand, you guys as well. Most small communities, of which I've been a part of one my entire life, we don't trust big city outsiders. We just don't. I mean, and it's nothing personal. It's just that we have a way of living. I live on a ranch in the middle of nowhere, and when I go outside, I can see, on a real good night, I can see the Milky Way. And the last thing I want to do is lose that ability. And so I know there's a lot of concern here, and so we need to understand that. As far as the city goes, you guys are going to ultimately, because we're in a representative form of government, which we all learned back in 4th grade civics, back in the day. But before you guys make a decision, because the decision of the city to annex is going to be a major factor to whoever's going to come in afterwards and try and deal with this project. If they can't get city water and have that reliable water source, it becomes a problem. Now, I understand the initial 1.7 million gallons that is the output or the input required to get into the system, and that's a one-time thing. And I know you talked about, that's the equivalent of so many households, but that's so many households is over an entire year, whereas the initial startup's going to have to fill up the tank right away, which may put a strain right away on what it is that the city can offer. Now, all that being said, if there's a way that the city can work that and it's not going to affect us in a bad way, so be it. Because I have an office right down the street here too, at 217 West Hondo Avenue. I know I forgot to give you all something. But I would encourage the city to do a couple of things here. The first thing I would encourage the city to do is to form a task force. And it doesn't have to be some fancy task force. Just hire some people to do a study for you on some of the local communities in these areas around the state that have been dealing with this for more than 2 or 3 years. Because when you do that, you'll get real data. Because I understand what you guys are doing here today. I understand what you're doing here today, and you did a great job, by the way. You answered a lot of my questions as well. But you're trying to do your job to push your project, and we need to know how it's really going to impact us, and we won't know that if we don't get an unbiased opinion somewhere else. The second thing I would encourage you to do, and then I'll get out of the way and shut up, is I would encourage you, with the amount of money these data centers make, if and when you all do decide that you're going to let them in, and I'm not telling you to do that or not, that's not my place. But if you do it, every one of us in this room that deals with city water bills and city sewer bills and city garbage bills keep getting bigger and bigger numbers. Negotiate it where they pay for that bill for every citizen of Devine. It's a small drop in their bucket, but they can do that, and that'll make this community a little more receptive to the idea. If you know what, I can pay the $150 bill that TJ would normally have, or I can pay Sharp's bill for $150, or I can pay the Ramirez Law Office bill.
It's time.
But you guys can negotiate that. Make sure you think of us when you do.
All right, thanks, Tommy. Hallie begins with a T, I believe. Please state your name and address.
Kudos because you said Hallie and not Haley.
Well, I
Can you
got
guys
lucky,
hear me?
I guess. Anyway, state your name and address, please.
My name is Hallie Tanksley. I live at 398 County Road, 7712. I'm actually going to be reading an excerpt from a letter that was written by a Native American chief named Chief Seattle to the U.S. government when they were inquiring about purchasing some land. This is a bridge, so I cut a little bit of it out so that way I can make sure I had time, but it goes as follows. The president in Washington sends word that he wishes to buy our land. But how can you buy or sell the sky, the land? The idea is strange to us. If we do not own the freshness of the air and the sparkle of the water, how can you buy them? Every part of this earth is sacred to my people. Every shining pine needle, every sandy shore, every mist in the dark woods, every meadow, every humming insect, all are holy in the memory and the experience of my people. We know the sap which courses through the trees as we know the blood that courses through our veins. We are part of the earth and it is part of us. The perfumed flowers are our sisters. The bear, the deer, the great eagle, these are our brothers. The shining water that moves in the streams and rivers is not just water, but the blood of our ancestors. If we sell you our land, you must remember that it is sacred. Each ghostly reflection in the waters of the clear lakes tell of events and memories in the life of my people. The water's murmur is the voice of my father's father. If we sell you our land, remember that the air is precious to us, that the air shares its spirit with all the life that it supports. The wind that gave our grandfather his first breath also receives his last sigh. The wind also gives our children the spirit of life. So if we sell you our land, you must keep it apart and sacred, as a place where man can go to taste the wind that is sweetened by the meadow flowers. Will you teach your children what we have taught our children? That the earth is our mother. What befalls the earth befalls all the sons of the earth.
1 minute.
All things are connected like the blood that unites us all. Man did not weave the web of life. He is merely a strand in it. Whatever he does to the web, he does to himself. Your destiny is a mystery to us. What will happen when the buffalo are all slaughtered, the wild horses tamed? What will happen when the secret corners of the forest are heavy with the scent of many men and the view of the ripe hills are blotted with talking wires? Where will the thicket be? Gone. Where will the eagle be? Gone. What is it to say goodbye to the swift pony in the hunt, the end of living and the beginning of survival? That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Ally. Lloyd Richardson, please.
Well, most of you that know me know I don't usually need a microphone.
Name and address, please. Gotcha.
I live at 192 County Road 7755. We can't hear you. Okay. We kind of heard about everything I wanted to say tonight. Everybody's had a lot of good things to say. I'd like to take a little different direction just for a minute. This is really kind of a done deal. My question is, did you go through the county to get permission to build this thing?
We have not filed any county development permits. We're still doing our due diligence and basically getting environmental water studies, civil plans, all finished up, and once that is completed, we do plan to file our county development permit.
So you're gonna have to go through Medina County to get permission to build this at some point, correct? My concern is that while we're talking today about Devine, this thing's gonna be built regardless what the city of Devine says or we say. The county has a real long record of giving, we've got a lot of these data centers in Medina County. It's not by happenstance. They've been given special, what I would call deferred property taxes or some benefit to bring people to Medina County. So we need to look at maybe switching the focus to the county a little bit and see what they're doing. This is number 9 or number 10 in the county. And we got the judge sitting right here, so they know what's going on. If you guys get incentives, you're gonna build this whether we like it or not. So to me, what becomes the issue is what benefit does the city of Devine get out of this? It doesn't really make a whole, if we can't stop it and the county's gonna offer what they're gonna offer, we have to kind of side with, well, let's get what we can as a city of Devine out of this deal and try to make the best of it. I know it's not a popular thing, but to me...
1 minute.
To me, it's up to the county. If they really want to stop something, we got to go to the county, and that's where we're going to stop it. We're not going to stop it right here.
We're going to county,
Okay. Thanks, Lloyd. Obviously, I cannot speak for the county. All right. And you kind of hit the nail on the head in a lot of ways. Thank you. Okay. Liz White, please. Liz White.
Liz White, 503 Wedgwood Way. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, so I don't have a prepared thing or anything. I just wanted to say I'm fairly new to the community. I've moved here in 2023 due to grandkids coming here. So I am concerned about the future because of my kids and grandkids living here. If the city, if this goes forward, if the city should decide to annex, one of the comments I have to say is we should not give them a tax abatement. My understanding of tax abatements is what taxing entities give when they are trying to get business. This business wants to come. They want to be here. Therefore, I do not see a reason for them to be getting tax cuts. That's the main thing I have to say. Now, as to whether or not they should annex or not, I don't know. As the last gentleman just said, if it's going to go through, I don't know. It might be better for it to be annexed. I don't know enough about it to say yea or nay either way. But it's just if they do, they should not give them any tax breaks whatsoever. Because if this, however much millions of dollars in taxes they get, they could lower everyone else's taxes. They could do a lot with that money. But like the last gentleman said, we need to talk to the county about it.
Let's see.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, now we have Karen Seal.
Hello, I'm Karen Seal. I live at 628 County Road, 5711 in Lacoste. And actually, we're not even in Lacoste, we're out in the country. And I'm very concerned, and I want to answer some of the questions that some people asked. What is it going to do to our neighborhoods? Because I've watched neighborhoods over on 90 be actually destroyed by these things. They make noise. People have lost their houses. They've lost the places where they raised their children and their neighbors' children, and they had a place to live. And now they're all scattered all over Medina County and into other counties because somebody wanted to put a big data center right across the street from where they're at. There's pollution from light, there's pollution from noise, there's pollution to the air, to the water, there's heat up to 16 degrees higher. And we can really use that here in South Texas. And we're selling out friends, and we're selling out neighbors when we invite these people in. It's a concrete jungle that's not bringing anything that's particularly good to Medina County. We have to be concerned about traffic. We have to be concerned about the big trucks that are going to be on our road that guess who's going to pay the tax for? Us. They're not going to be paying the taxes. We will. There was a question too about water distribution, and it was a really good answer, not accurate, but really good, that they won't take water away from hospitals or schools. Yeah, that's true. But they will take water away from individuals. They will put restrictions on individuals. They don't mind telling the individual homeowners that they can't use that much water or what they can use it for. So I think we need to be thinking very seriously. And when they also say we have to obey the rules of the TCEQ.
1 minute.
There's not much of a restriction with that. The Texas Commission for Evading Quality has been out there for a long time evading quality. But I'm glad there are some standards. There were a couple of questions on the back here that I'd like to see answered, like who's going to be liable for environmental damage from trucks, from all the pollution. I'd like to know what the long-term vision of Medina County is, which is something we need to take to the county. What are we trying to do? We've been rural, we've been agricultural, we've been a nice, quiet county and a nice community. We'd like to keep it that way. But I do understand what the situation is. So those are my only questions. But I really don't like seeing another data center. I've seen what they do to neighborhoods.
Okay, Russell Seal.
Russell Seal, same address. This is not a one-off. I'm looking at a data center map for the MSA, for which we are part of, the 8-county region, and with Bexar County, New Braunfels, Seguin, we're part of that. And this data center map has 80 data centers coming up and around our area. Medina County is getting more than our share of them. In our MSA, we are not in the non-attainment designation for ozone that Bexar County and 4 of the other counties are. It was cut out at that time because nothing was going on. With all of these data centers coming into our county, and y'all using not even a combined cycle natural gas plant, but like the Microsoft data center that I saw up on 471 of Petranco had 15 these generators on each side of the building. You couldn't even get the whole picture of the building from the road in the camera, showing all these gas generators. This is going to be a very big not just you, but all of them, and you're speculators. Y'all are specking that at one of these places are going to come. Microsoft has already got a ton of these things coming into our county. Just look at the map in our area. You're not even on this map of these 80. You're in addition to that. So are we going to stay in non-attainment? We don't even have an ozone monitors, the NOx monitors that are all around Bexar County. That's going to have to change. We have to be concerned. The reason most of these Microsoft plants are coming right on the border of the Medina County line is they don't have to be included in the SIP for Bexar County and the other counties. We're being abused because of that 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whenever the EPA put us in as non-attainment. That situation is not going to change because our air quality is not going to change, and sooner or later, we're going to end up having to get automobile testing like for air pollution like San Antonio is going into. These are things that have to be looked at, this environmental impact statement that people are asking for. Look at the big picture, not just this one-off. We have to look county-wide what all of these data centers are going to do to not just our air quality. And I'm shocked that y'all are using, just because you can't get them, not building it. 400 megawatt is huge. Using them with single cycle, hey folks, that's nuts. It's much more inefficient to use a combined cycle natural gas plant. I am shocked that y'all are going that route. You can put SCRs on a combined cycle natural gas plant. Putting SCRs on all of these generators, you're going to have a challenge. Thank you.
The decision to go simple cycle was a water usage issue. If you run out the math on a combined cycle natural gas turbine or power plant, it uses really an obscene amount of water compared to the, again, 45,000 gallons per annum that we would use, simple cycle. I will clarify, maybe you're possibly thinking of reciprocating generators. These would be smaller turbines, but they're still aeroderivative. So they would have SCRs and emission mitigation on them.
But not greenhouse gas.
That's right.
Okay. We have an online question real quickly.
Just a taste, guys.
Okay, we need to proceed, please. Right. Is there any significant tax revenue for the city of Devine? Okay, I can answer this. Well, obviously, if you annex all this property that's worth a few $1 billion, of course there's tax revenue for the city of Devine. There will also be sales tax revenue during the construction phase, and then on, the list goes on. Okay, well, obviously there was tax revenue, otherwise we wouldn't even be considering it. Okay? Heather?
Just real quick, somebody asked me, just texted me, they're saying, if you annex that center, will you be annexing all the houses and land in between it, or are you just annexing?
Well, there's a real simple answer to that, okay? If it is financially rewarding for the city of Devine, obviously would be considered. So, for example, whatever infrastructure goes into this property, we're not paying for it. They will, okay? So now if the housing development, which you mentioned before, decided to pay for everything to go to them and then they become our customer, well, it might be considered. But it wouldn't make sense to run all that water over there if it's not financially rewarding for the city. Okay? I'm sorry. Moving on, please. Okay, I have Michael Herring.
My question was answered about an hour and a half ago.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Yeah. All right. That was easy. Patty Krause, please. Patty Krause.
name is Patty Kraus. I live at 1083 County Road 2629. I am not in Medina County. I am a frequent flyer in Devine. I come here almost every day. This is affecting me also where I'm at. I'm right up 462 off of 2629, which a lot of people know as Prue Lane. There are, my biggest concern is my water, as many people here as well, and going into the aquifers and draining those aquifers. And one of the gentlemen had said that his water line is down another 50 feet. Also, if you can, to the gentleman who says it doesn't use a lot of water, can you give me one data center anywhere that's fully functional, up and running, that doesn't use less than 20,000 gallons a month? Just one.
I literally just built a modular data center. It's a smaller one, but doesn't use any water.
Okay, and so why couldn't you do that on a larger scale where you don't use the water that's in short supply to begin with, and going into aquifers? And where is that wastewater? Is that wastewater going to go back into the aquifers?
Yeah, the wastewater is tied to sewer, and again, there's going to be no pollutants going back into the sewer system.
So it's not going to go into the aquifers? Yes? Okay. So, but as the man's water level's going deeper, if you start using those aquifers, how much deeper are all the farms going to have to go?
And as we said in the presentation, the water usage is equivalent to about 16 homes.
Which I don't think is, I don't believe is accurate, and
1 minute.
where you have to ask for the independent, because you want the project. And so on the water issue, why can't they truck in their own water? Yep. Let them, if they want to build it, let them supply their water, let them truck it in, rather than affect everyone's homes and farms. Before I have to truck in water to supply my house.
Okay, since you're looking straight at me, I'll try to answer that a little bit. By the way, okay, remember it was talked about earlier. Okay, this is 525 acres, right? They have the right to over 1,000 acre-feet of water by state law. Okay, so it is that simple. If they want to truck in water, that's up to them, but they also have the right to drill a well. They have the right to use Yancey water if Yancey can service them, and the list goes on. We are not their only option. They have other options. They're not completely depending upon the city of Devine to do this. Okay?
Last question. Sorry, can I get 10 seconds for the, okay. So, did they buy the land, or are they leasing the land?
We have the development rights with the landowner.
So you did not buy it, you're leasing it. So that lease can get sold to someone else and to someone else. Just remember.
We are the developer of the property, ma'am.
Okay, but so that you have the right to sell those leases for that land, and who knows what company could end up there. But thank you.
Thanks, Patty. I have Michael Shadman. Michael Shadman, if I said it right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, welcome.
I know everybody can hear me. My name is Michael Shadden. I live at 2092 SH 173 South. I've been in construction for over 60 years. I've been a welding instructor for 15 years or more. I've taught for SDDT in San Antonio, and I teach every now and then for PSTC, Texas State Technical College. When we were talking about demineralized water in your system, that brought me back years ago when I worked at the nuclear power plant in Glen Rose, Texas. Nuclear power plants have to have demineralized water. And you said that was what was going to be in your system for the coolers, correct?
For the power plant,
For the power plant.
not the data center.
All right, even power plants like you're building still are gonna have shutdowns eventually. What are you gonna do with that water?
Well, as I mentioned, that is an annual usage, so that water will be resupplied and trucked away.
Where's it gonna go when it's trucked away?
The other commercial disposal facilities where solids and wastewater go.
Right, but you're telling us that none of it will be lost at your site?
No, sir.
I've never seen anything like that happen in my 6 years. When you do a shutdown, you carry into a system, no matter what, you're gonna have some residual that's there. So, do you have plans safety plans for your,
Alluding to containment
waste
facilities?
material, containing it and everything like that?
Yes, sir. There are containment facilities in part of the civil design.
No, on your side?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
1 minute.
Containment pits, an equivalent with the number of gallons of fluid for different devices.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Debbie Randall, please.
Hey, everybody. Good to see y'all again.
Is it good to be on the other side?
It's different. It's very different. So I have two things. One is about tax abatement. Be it the city, if you annex, be it the city if you annex, or the county, I think we should have no tax abatement for them. I don't care what they bring to the table, because we'll never get, a standard tax abatement is 10 years. I mean, if you just go look it up. That means for 10 years, we get nothing. So, I don't know about y'all, but I may not be on the planet in 10 years, so I would never see the reward of it all. But I think both county and city should not go that route, and I'm not the only one that feels that way. Second thing I wanted to talk to you about was if you do annex. Again, I've been in your seat for many of these kinds of decisions, and I'm glad I'm not in this one. But if you were to annex, my biggest concern would be the infrastructure of the water and sewer for our cities, water and sewer. We all know that it has issues. So, is there a plan in place to be able to handle that data center? And if there is not a plan, can we get one really quick? And how are we gonna pay for that? Will that be part of the negotiation with them? Or is that coming out of our taxes? That's just my question. I would really like y'all to be a little more transparent on the plan. And I realize there might not be one today, but when you get it, we need to hear it. That's all I have, believe it or not.
And you will. Okay. So there's a lot to be determined, as we said earlier. Yeah. And I think in the payments that you speak about, they're not all 100% a payment for 10 years. It's normally a percentage. But it really boils down to what anybody agrees to. Okay. I know a lot of them have been 80-20, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So, but anyway, thanks, Debbie. Appreciate you. Moving on. Trish Contreras.
Bless you.
Hi, my name is Patricia Contreras. My address is 708 Johnson Avenue. I actually live in Seguin, which is 78155. I am here for two reasons. One, I am actually, I think someone earlier mentioned that Clayton Tucker is running for Texas Ag Commissioner. I am one of his representatives. I'm also here as a Texan and as someone that lives right down the street. To me, it feels like right down the street. It is in Guadalupe County, which is east of San Antonio. And we too have a data center that we're fighting up against. Now, some of the information that I'm going to share today is information, not misinformation, but information that we are receiving from thousands and thousands of people from across the state. This is information that they're providing to us because they either live next to a data center, which is right, could be, you know, in their very backyard, down the street, or the next county over. And if it affects this county, it affects the neighboring county, and it affects the neighboring county after that. So it's just a domino effect. So the information, like I said, that I'm going to provide is information that we're receiving from a lot of Texans across the state, including from other states where these AI data centers already are. Now, as far as power is concerned, industry leaders say AI demand has the potential to consume as much electrical capacity as all that exists in the United States today. AI data centers can use as much power as several cities. Just because AI corporation promises to build a power plant doesn't mean Texans won't be left paying the bill. In several cases, while a data center paid for a power plant, it was the public.
Ma'am, do you have anything pertinent to our local situation, please? We have more people to get to, so if you
I
can.
have 3 minutes, don't I? I mean, I was invited by a lot of you.
I'm just asking you, that's
Okay,
all.
well, I'm
Okay,
I'm just
proceed.
sharing information is what I'm doing.
Okay.
Now, we believe that currently we are in an AI bubble, similar to the .com 2008 era. And with that AI bubble, we are seeing signs of that AI bubble bursting. The AI bubble is leading several shortages of gas turbine cores. These are used in all power generation, that they're the thing that spins. These cores take a long time to make and are back ordered until 2030. We don't have enough, so this shortage caused by AI has driven up the cost of these cores by nearly 200%, which the public will pay. Now, as far as closed loop systems are concerned, while closed loop systems can exist in smaller scales, such as data center banks, they become significantly challenging and at the scales needed to AI. AI data centers can use 20 times the power and water as traditional data banks. All closed loop systems have to be bled a few times a year through time. Thank you very much.
One thing that I would like to say, Councilman, I follow, for those who don't know, Clayton Tucker is running for Ag Commissioner here in the state of Texas. I follow him very closely, as many other types of politics. I've heard Clayton speak. He's eloquent. You know, he's a local farmer. You know, I can tell he loves Texas. The problem that I have with Clayton Tucker is that he spreads more misinformation than actually providing factual information. And ma'am, you had your 3 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, we're gonna have to move on, please. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on and go home.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, we're gonna move on. All right. Adriana, I cannot read the last name.
Hannenkrat.
Okay, thank you.
Adriana Hannenkrat. I live on 1045 State Highway 132. Tricia, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. We've all been asking for some real information. I'm sorry that you disagree, Butch. However, we were thirsting for it. No pun. Now, what I'd like to mention is, I have a history firsthand of living next to a power plant. My father was a water user authority. He was hired for the purpose of managing a hydroelectric power plant. We live just down the road. I'm talking maybe half a city block from this power plant. He would have to check it daily, go in, water levels, all of it. We received communication from the company about this power plant, telling us exactly what we can expect from the power plant. Low noise volume, no water impacts, a lot of information. My father's now blind. He has Parkinson's and dementia. What they didn't say is the biggest impact, and that's what I am so worried about here. There is a lot said, but there is a lot not said. I heard a lot of I don't knows. I heard a lot of we're waiting on that information. And what I would expect is that we would stop until that information is shown. It is important that we have a full panel of understanding before we say yes. That is the biggest thing. Unknown creates a lot of problems, including dementia, including Parkinson's. In fact, in 2006, right, this year, in Oregon, they were finding out that Amazon is paying out about $20 billion to a community out there because they started a data center and said it was completely safe. Now that data center does release water into the community. However, we are finding out that that community now has cancer, it has miscarriages, all kinds of impacts.
1 minute.
So this is extremely important. This is our lives. Those are my children. I don't even know what else to say.
Thank you. Just real quick, okay, yes, we do not have a lot of information, so it seemed to me that it would be better to start the process to be as transparent as possible, because if we were to do the other way around, all right, and go 3 or 4 months and so on and so on, my God, can you imagine how you would feel? Okay, so we're putting it out there now, okay? And this may not be the only town hall meeting we have, and I guarantee you there will be a lot of correspondence in the newspaper, all right? Trust me on that, okay? Moving on. Sharon Kaminsky, please.
I'm going to pass it this time.
Thanks, Sharon, okay? Ford. Okay. Okay, real quick, we have like 22 minutes left. Okay, we have a few more people, obviously. We will also be passing out index cards if you have any other questions. Okay, please write your question down. If you want to put your name on it, you can. It's completely up to you. Okay, and as a matter of fact, I have some questions here that have been passed around this evening, and I think they're great. Okay, there's one that's two-sided that's awesome. A lot of the same questions I have. And I'm going to research those questions, and so will the rest of your city council and your planning and zoning board. Okay? So, any question you got, let us know. Okay? Okay, oh, and also, if you do have a question, leave the card at the table. Okay? Patty Taitama. She left already? Okay. Wes Myers.
I'm Wes Myers. I live over in Moore.
Yeah, turn the microphone on.
You can't hear me. My name is Wes Myers. I live over in Moore, 1121 Pride Road, 1688. So I was born in D.C., raised around politicians. I left that neighborhood because I didn't like what they were doing up there, and I didn't have control. I moved out here in the country when I retired from the military, served both in the Navy and the Army and retired. Come out here to have a life away from all the cities. I love coming to Devine here, a lot of great businesses here. I always support my local community. My wife is a award-winning author right now, and I'm supporting her in everything I do. This data center, I know you guys, I can't stop you guys from doing this. You're out to make money and do what you do, okay? Granted, it's natural thing history is for our country. So through that, I want you guys to look at this and study more on the effects of the heat. We're in Texas. We hit 100 degrees, and then you're adding more because that center is going to generate heat just like every other one out there is. So you guys need to start evaluating this and figure out how, without taking more water resources, because we still have all that issue here, how to make sure we don't overheat this area, because that's going to destroy a lot of infrastructure around here as far as our natural resources. That's something that needs to be addressed. And I don't see that addressed in any of the other data centers that are being built. But I'm asking you guys personally, you guys are just building this, but look into this, because we need answers on that. All this stuff with solar, we didn't get answers on. Every solar field out here has raised the temperature around that solar field and made it hard for any livestock or anything to do. Think about this, 100 degrees, and if it's 16 degrees more, what are we going to do? Because it's going to make more evaporation, it's going to cause more drought. Everything that we do in life has been affecting our country. All the population, all the houses, all the roads, all the everything. All right?
1 minute.
Data centers are no different than any of this other stuff. Okay? I agree that I feel that annexing would be the best bet, because then it can be controlled somewhat. You still only have a little bit of control of it. But again, they drill a well, we have no control. They take as much water as they need, whatever. These solar fields, they weren't controlled. All the waste from that is toxic. There's no way to dispose of solar panels, all right? Data centers, I don't know a lot about the internal side of everything, but I do know about power plants. I used to work for Terex and Altec, who built bucket trucks that worked for every single lineman out there and helped put every single line out in this country. And I know the generation of all the different stuff that comes off of the power lines, all the noise, all the everything. Everything has an effect. Everything we put out here has an effect.
That is time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mike Miller, please. Mike Miller.
There we go. Good evening. I'm Mike Miller. I live on 3156 State Highway 173 North. I've seen a lot of construction. I wish your TxDOT, your friends were here to answer for it, because they haven't given me any notice for the past 3 weeks when they've been doing construction right in front of my house. So yeah, there are changes coming. I know you said you worked with Southwestern Bell for a while. There's a fiber cable that goes right across the front of my ranch that's been sitting there for way longer than the 10 years I've been there, because it's still got the Southwestern Bell label on it. One thing I haven't heard tonight is what's going to happen to the network infrastructure. That's the communications infrastructure, all of our internet lines, all of the cell towers. Are you going to lobby for Congress to turn these fiber cables on for us, so that way we have more in and out bandwidth for when this data center comes in? Because that's basically what's going to take, because nobody's done that so far.
Yeah, as far as fiber coming over the property, fiber will be extended into the property that the local community will benefit from, having fiber access.
Another concern is infrasound. That's going to be everything under 20 hertz, because that can travel much farther than audible decibels can. And some of these other data centers, the infrasound has traveled over 3 miles. And it can have negative effects on physical well-being. It can cause severe headaches, fatigue, dizziness, sense of dread, anxiety. Have you taken any of that into consideration? And do you have a baseline measurement for the current infrasound versus what it's going to be after the data center comes online?
Part of the studies that are being done now, along with the selection of the generation equipment and the ultimate basis of design of the powered shell or the structure, will take into account those items, but at this stage of the project, we don't have any line of sight. I mean, no
You haven't thought about that?
1 minute.
It's absolutely something that needs to be, taken care of and addressed.
Do you think that could be addressed with reverse sound wave amplification?
I'm not familiar with that technology, sir.
Okay, sorry if that's over your head. Anyways, a lot of these problems are coming from the state, the county level, these boards that give the permits out. They're not coming from our local people here. They're here to support us, so I thank them for letting us speak here. But if you want to send a message, I know this is a very red state, but maybe just this one midterm, you consider the American Solidarity Party, vote orange, send a message to Governor Abbott. You can write me in. My name is Michael Miller. I will be running for governor. And if elected, I will make sure that we have dry AI. Thank you.
Okay, I have Joshua Johnson, I believe, Joshua Johnson.
All right, hello everyone, happy Tuesday. My name is Joshua Johnson. A little about myself, I went to UTSA for electrical
Address,
engineering.
please.
147 Harbor View, Lake Hills, Texas. I'm on the southern part of the Bandera County, northern part of Medina County. I pass through 3 counties on my road to get home. So a little about myself, went to UTSA electrical engineering. I've been an IT professional for 15 years. I lived in Austin for 10 years. And I can tell you guys that your water estimate for usage is flagrantly wrong. In 500 square feet, you can fit 100 servers and pack in the latest NVIDIA B300. That uses about 14 households of water a month. So if your facility is 50,000 square feet, then that's 1,400 households worth of water in a month. So I think you guys are absolutely kind of wrong on your water usage. If I could really communicate anything to you guys today, it's AI's a bubble for sure. There's no real demand for it, but also embrace it. Go right out, get yourself a good desktop, get yourself a nice desk, get yourself a cloud account. There is just a trove of public data. You could learn every minute detail about this project, all the projects across the county, every official, to the minute detail. You can get yourself a nice PDF published. You can launch a website. The cost of software is dirt cheap right now. You could build anything. You could build an app. You could practically send your own spacecraft to the moon. So use it. It's an amazing tool.
Please stay on the topic, please.
It's on topic. He's building an AI data center.
1 minute.
Well, I've been up since 4. I didn't have dinner and I haven't had any coffee. I'm really jealous of y'all that typed up your own speeches. That was very smart. You were very prepared. It's nice to see a crowd like this here in Devine. I'm most concerned, honestly, about the Microsoft one off of Highway 90. I actually think this is a really nice project, and it could work out well. My only concern is the demographic changes. They say 400 good jobs, and a data center job is a really good job. If you'd like your kids to get into it, tell them to get their hands dirty now, or even if you have a particular career, you could get into it really easy. It's fun work, but I think it's going to be H-1Bs coming in. I think you're going to find a lot of people who are not from Texas, not from America, coming in and taking these jobs. They're building neighborhoods off 211. There's a mall going in. They're not land clearing on this project, but there's land clearing going on in a lot of other areas. I don't know. We're just going to see how it goes. Y'all have a great day.
So, would you guys please address that about the water usage that he just referenced to, please?
Some chip manufacturers use different types of stuff. NVIDIA keeps getting more powerful with smaller chip density that uses less water.
What I was referring to was he mentioned that your numbers were off base. So
That's incorrect, sir. But all current waters are based off current projections of cooling loop systems and current rack density for the data centers.
All right. Yeah, I felt like you should have a chance to respond to that. Okay, we have Shaylin Rude, please. We have 9 minutes.
My name is Shaylin Rude. I live 311 West Park Avenue, just across the road. My main concern, obviously, is the water, electricity, the harm to the environment. I come from an Air Force family. I've seen firsthand what our government regulations do for plants and the emissions that come from our jets. My husband worked on jets. My father was in the Air Force, and they both have lifelong battles that they are dealing with and will forever deal with because our government thought that their regulations were enough and they weren't. I'll say the people that profit from the projects like this will not live here. They won't drink our water or deal with the consequences if something goes wrong, but the residents will. We will live with the strains on our water supply, on the industrial traffic and noise, and our health and property value and rural life is at risk. Devine is more than an empty land on a developer's map. We are families, ranchers, small businesses, churches, and schools. People chose to live in this town for a reason. I would just ask our city council would put all protective measures possible in place. This data center is going up. I think we kind of all know that. And I pray that our city council will focus on the health and safety of our community and that we will gather environmental data independent of those that want this data center in place, so we are prepared and a plan put in place if water supply does prove to be an issue. But that is something that comes. I ask that the council will put the residents first, that we will protect our water, our infrastructure, and our future. And I just wanted to ask our council if there's, with what, I know you've only had a month, but what y'all have seen and what y'all have researched on your own together and discussed, do y'all see drawbacks? Do y'all already have concerns that y'all would share, at least so that we would know that y'all have the concern?
We haven't conversed amongst ourselves. We're waiting for that time. Okay, we're not really allowed to do that unless we're in a meeting. Okay, for example, we would probably go into closed session. We did have a closed session presentation along with the Planning and Zoning Board that really kind of started this whole thing. Okay, and the reason why we did that was for us to get the actual information ourselves. So, once again, you pretty much know everything that we know. Okay, there isn't any hidden information from these guys. Okay, so, and yes, ma'am, we have a ton of research to do. Okay, and we will, no stone unturned, shall we say. Okay.
And then with the job that y'all feel like this would bring after construction, how many people do you all average actually work in the centers after construction? So after it's already there and we're looking, because I know the construction will bring huge jobs for the community and for San Antonio, but afterwards, what's the current?
Based on the complete build out of the 400 megawatts and 400 megawatts, all the buildings, those projections are the 400 individuals.
It's time.
Okay, we have like 6 minutes, but before I call the next person, I would like to point out to everyone that's still here, okay, our county judge is in attendance, Mr. Keith Lutz, and our county commissioner for this precinct is also here, Mr. Danny Lawler. They too are hearing all of these concerns that you guys put out here tonight, okay? So appreciate you guys coming, truly do. Moving on, Gina Stolhouse.
That's Gina Stolzfus. That's a youngster Dutch last name. 157 Bryant Park, Castroville, Texas. Where I live, off of Petranco, I go out. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I go out of my development, I go about 4 miles to the right, there's a data center. I go a couple miles to the left, there's another data center. I said to my husband when we recently relocated, I said, what the heck is going on, honey? There's this big old warehouse with no doors. No warehouse doors. I don't know what it is. And then I started looking at it, looked into it, and it was a data center, and that's when I started educating myself on data centers. So with that, you know, with AI, it's the AI race is on, right? We don't have a choice. It's the train has left the station. The AI is on. With that, I'm like, okay, are everyday people going to fund AI? I'm like, what is going on? Because they are making big time profits, okay, at our expense, with our resources, with our shortages of water and electricity, and strains on our grid. And I wonder, and then the tax abatements as well. As our properties, some of our properties are declining. Okay, that's really worrisome when I moved here. Had I known that, it probably would be, my husband and I would have made a different choice. But here we are, in this community. Are there gonna be rolling blackouts? Can it, you know, we have what, 8 to 12? 8 to 12, I lost count of how many are coming into the county. Is there going to be rolling blackouts? Can it handle it? Can the grid handle it all? Okay, that's a real concern that we have as citizens here. Here's another thing. I read an article in the magazine, Economist magazine, and also Bloomberg, September 2025, and Economist magazine, February 2026. Okay, that $350 billion are slated to go in for power, nuclear power, to power up these bad boy AI data centers. Now, I certainly hope that a nuclear plant is not on its way to power them all up, because they're clustering them. We have a cluster now in our county. Okay, and that concerns me, because is that what's next?
1 minute.
Okay, and my last minute, I had a thing here. Why in the world are we building them in high stress water areas is beyond me. I don't understand that.
All right, thank you very much for your comments. All right, everybody, we're down to 2 minutes. We're going to have to shut the meeting down. But in closing, I apologize if we couldn't get to everyone. All right, so I think we had 6 people that we were not able to get to. But however, like I said earlier, if you have questions with regards to this, please leave it with us. If you want to leave your name and number, we can get back to you. Okay? Just a second. And also in closing, okay, once again, the purpose, please hear me out. The purpose of this meeting was to gather information and hear citizens' concerns. Okay? Nothing has been done, no agreements, no anything. Okay? So we will continue to do our investigating on this then, our research. We will have many more interviews, many more discussions with the powers that be and on down the line. And obviously, our chief concern would be the safety of our citizens here in Devine. All right? So thank you everyone for coming this evening. Very, very much appreciated. And y'all have a safe trip home. And I was told that the Spurs won.
Reinforced my belief that they need random mental health checks.